Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the movie of What If Issei Became Master of Grand Order. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. We currently see Issei Hyoudou walk alongside with his parents to a Japanese house. It was a massive building left for Issei for being his best grandson, and now they entered into the building. The house seemed clean, like it was clean every week. As they arrived near a shrine, show a picture of a man and a woman. Imaginate them older, as the family all clap their hand in respect and speak to the two in the photo in the picture. "Oh, thank you Mr. Kuroka and Mrs. Vermillion, as I promise I stayed with Mickey because she is the love of my life. I didn't care if she couldn't give birth to Issei older siblings. I didn't care about what my family said about leaving her. I will stick by her side forever like I promise you. Mickey, thank you Dad, for raising me in a good family along with Mom. I wish to tell you that our family may grow some more. I'll protect her like you done for me and raise her to be strong like you done with me. And I'll surprise Issei with this news soon. Issei, thank you Grandpa. I just remembered your words and I will never forget them ever again. I'll keep them forever in my heart for the future and make you proud. And Grandma, I've been cleaning your sword daily till the day I can wield it along with Grandpa's sword, but I still don't think I can wield the sword you two gave me, but I give it a try. I still don't know what you mean by the sword is like me, I promise you I won't let fear take me," he said, looking at the sword of his grandparents along with another sword being a large silver single-edged sword. They all said their piece to the two in the photo as happy memories began to flow. When they finished their piece, Issei received a text from Kiba saying that the party is already starting a celebration of defeating the Beast of Apocalypse and Chaos Brigade. So Issei turned to his parents and hugged them and said, "Issei, I got to go, but I promise that I'll change and make you guys and Grandpa and Grandma proud. I'll probably get back with the sword and study hard for you guys," he said as he had a smile on his face, and the expression of his parents made him feel good because their show a face of happiness. So Issei turned around and get ready to leave with a pamphlet to get there faster instead of taking the train, but was stopped by his parents. "Or take care of yourself in that party of yours. And remember, we'll always be proud of you, and if something happens you can talk to us," he said as he saw his son off with a smile. "Mickey, yes, you can tell us anything, and if you need love advice with the girls, then ask me about it. It's better to ask the same gender, and take your time. I know I said I want grandkids, but take your time. Issei, don't worry, everything will be alright. I better get going. I'm the man of honor, of course," he said while heading off to a distance away from his parents to see him vanishing with the pamphlet. Without knowing that problem will show themselves when he would arrive and hurt his heart, but in darkness there will always be a light for those that need it. Lucifer Castle. We see Issei teleport near some big double doors as guards who saw him smiled as they start to open the door. Our protagonist who used magic to change his outfit for the party. When the door opens, the guards gave him compliment like, "Your suit fit you nicely." There goes our hero that made our protagonist happy and thanked them and wished them well and enjoy this peace with their family and loved ones. Make the guards give him a gentle smiles and nod. When he enters, everyone was happy on seeing him, and for some reason they could feel a change inside him. That made a few smile as they wave at him, give him compliments as he was looking around for his girls, but met up with Kiba and Gasper together with their partners Tsubaki and Valerie as he went to greet them. Issei, "Hey guys, enjoy the party and thank for the heads up Kiba, and sorry I had family matters to attend," he said, waving at them as he walked up to them and thanked Kiba, while also act like a gentleman and handshake his friends and the girls' hands. This action left his two friends and the girls surprised by his actions. It seemed him dealing with those family matters made him act mature or change him. "Kiba, it's no problem Issei-kun, you're my friend, and as you said you were busy with family matters. Also, are you okay?" he said, worried about his best friend if something was wrong. Gasper, "Yeah, you're acting like a gentleman all of a sudden," he said, curiously wondering what happened to his idol and friend. Tsubaki, "Yes, Hyoudou, are you okay? You seem to mature. What is the sudden change?" she said, also very surprised and curious along with Valerie since she heard about him from Gasper. Issei, "Well, you see, I just remember a conversation I had with someone very important to me, and I thought of changing my attitude and improving my reputation as the Red Dragon Emperor than the Oppi Dragon. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a pervert, but I think I should save that with the girl in private." This left the four completely shocked, and a few people who were also listening to the conversation. The hero of the factions is maturing. This made a few start whispering some were happy for the new change of Issei, especially a couple of girls who are interested in him who also heard of this new change of Issei. Meanwhile, inside the boosted gear, a certain red dragon was starting to cry tears of joy as it seemed his partner is starting to change and start to improve his reputation. As the dragon couldn't help but just cry and give a happy dance. "Kiba, oh, I see, well, I'm happy for you. And I must say I like this new change of yours," he said, happy for his best friend. Gasper, "Yeah, I'm happy for you Senpai," he said, happy and wished to follow his example. The girls with the two also agreed they were happy for this new change of Issei. It seems he's starting to think more about the future and couldn't help but just bring out a smile on them. Issei, "Yeah, thanks a lot guys. By the way, have you guys seen Rias and the girls around?" "I haven't seen them yet," he said, looking around the room to spot his beloved Switch Princess. Kiba, "Sorry, I haven't seen her yet, but if you like we can help you out, right guys?" he said to everyone else as they all nodded to help out Issei. As they look around from them, The party's music began to change the moment when he spotted one of his beloved, but in the situation that he never imagined he saw Ria's Gremory another man, and it wasn't just her but Asia Argino, Akino Heimjima, Zenobia Quarta, Kaneko Tauju, Irina Shidu, Rosswace, Ravel Phoenix, Kuroka, Leffe Pendragon, Yasaka. This shattered the heart of Issei. Meanwhile, the leaders of the faction were looking for Issei. As they saw him frozen, they were about to reach over to him, but they noticed the people he was with were trying to get a reaction from him, but they turned to the direction on what Issei was staring at, and they too were left in shock. This made the leader turn to the direction of where they were staring. It made them wish that they never saw what was in front of them. This also made the girls who had feelings for Issei build up a fury like no one ever imagined. Surzech was the most hurt of this. He was just going to announce Issei rank to a high-class devil and thank him for everything he has done for them. He turned to his wife Grafia, who was also in shock with an expression of anger and sadness. She liked Issei like a brother, and seeing this would change everything. Ajuka was surprised by what he saw. They love Issei, right? Why would they do this if he gave them everything he could give only to make them happy? He turned in a direction specifically. His cousin Laita Astaroth was furious. Her aura only made it seem like she would destroy anything in her path. Ajuka knew the feeling Laita has for Issei ever since he supported the Astaroth clan because of the reputation that a certain ex-heir has done, but Issei fixed it, say he hate him, not the clan itself, and said that he will protect them and Laita, and if someone had a problem with them then they have to go through him. Now Ajuka, seeing Laita mad over what the girls did to Issei, he can see that old love is gone but new love starts. Seraphal was angry. She wished she could freeze the girls into a popsicle. Reason? Well, it's because she's in love with Issei and she was considering on confess her feelings to him. Because he did something, and that was saving her from Trike's attack and cost of his own life, but she wasn't the only one who was saved that day. There are two other. And she knows that their anger as well as her. Riser, he was angry along with his family. They thought Ravel had feelings for Issei, who would their brother-in-law, son-in-law, but maybe not. Also Riser was being stopped by his queen from doing anything stupid. Lady Phoenix was cry not because of her daughter, no, it was for Issei, and know that is a good boy as well, impressed by his determination. As for Lord Phoenix, had respect for him since he was willing to do whatever he could for the one he cares for. Azazel was surprised and angry and at the same time disappointed on them. He was with Issei a lot and he considers him like a son, but he quickly shivered because of Penemu aura of fury. Hercules was disappointed on Akino. He liked Issei, but it seems he wasn't enough for her. So he turned and saw Penemu anger. He would still protect Akino as a last act of a father, and he knew if Shuri was here she would be disappointed on her, let her own decisions, and wouldn't help her anymore. Meanwhile, in a distance, we can see someone similar to Akino, but her eyes are red and was wearing a kimono that had eyes of disappointment, while also checking on Issei as she felt a pain on her when she saw his expression of lost. She was together with a group of 2 males and 3 females. Penemu was angry, furious. The people around her were very scared. They all believed that she might kill them, causing a few people to try to stop her. But they were too scared to even try and just watched over her. She doesn't know why she's angry, but knew she had to follow her feelings. All this because of saving her life from the beast of apocalypse, so she decided to repay him one day. Michael, disappointed and very sad. Seeing a good person like Issei hurt like this really hurt his heart, and he was very disappointed on Irina for cheating on Issei, and was thinking of a suitable punishment for her. But then he, together with his brothers and sisters, felt a strong aura. So they all turned and saw it was none other than Gabrielle. Gabrielle was angry even if her face doesn't show it. Even if her eyes were shut and showing a smile, it didn't really help because the air around her and her aura was so intimidating. She cared for Issei since he also saved her life from the beast of the apocalypse. Grisela was very disappointed on Zenobia. She practically raised her, not to mention she also said that she would bear Issei children for a strong child. You can't make a strong child with just the best genes. You have to raise and nurture it. She felt sorry, only she raised her better, as she saw Issei with sadness. Author's notes: by the way, I would like you guys to give me an idea on Grisela appearance. Odin only had his eyes shut. He really wanted to erase that off his memory. He always teased Rosswace on having a boyfriend. She got one, and he believed she would be happy being with him. He predicted it, but it seems predictions never come true. Gondel didn't know what to do. Her granddaughter betrayed someone that really loved her, not to mention she broke a rule for Valkyries. And she cheated on her partner. It was a disgrace and dishonor to a Valkyrie. She looked around and saw Valkyries in disappointment at her and were disgusted by her. Rosswace has lost her right on being a Valkyrie. Gondel continued to look around and saw a white-haired Valkyrie by the name of Edelweiss who was looking at Issei with pain. Gondel remembered that Rosswace was angry that Edelweiss was being close to Issei. Since this was happening, Edelweiss could probably be with Issei, and maybe it would be the best, Gondel thought. Zeus was very concerned about the boy. He liked this kid and thought of him as a brother in arms. He began to feel, is this how heroes are treated? Do they always get their bad endings? Shiva had his eyes closed. He felt sorry for the boy, so he decided to check on his future, and what he saw was something interesting. His heart will be fixed by 2 people this night, but there was more. He couldn't help but grin. The future for Issei is going to be very interesting. Elmenhile was angry. Her red piercing eyes was staring at the Gremory group with hatred. She really wanted to slap those girls in the cheek, but she needed to focus on Issei instead and was only thinking of ways on helping him through this. Kanu was very sad. She almost had tears in her eyes. She considered Issei as a father figure. She really believed that her mother, seeing how many times she tries to flirt with him or grab him with her tails. But it seems a simple wish on, thinking Issei would be her father, just vanish, and started hating her mother. Sona was very disappointed on her best friend and her group for doing this to Issei. She began to look at her peerage, who also gave the same expression on disappointment. But on one of them showed anger, and it was none other than Momo Hanakai. In truth, Sona knew she had feelings for Issei. She never had any for Saji. It was only to get his attention because they were childhood friends. As for the other heirs, such as Sariorg, who had his fist clenched with frustration and anger on what's happening to his rival and friend, but was stopped by his queen Kuisha Abaddon and his own mother Misha Biel, who look at Issei with pain in her. Since Sariorg said that Issei was the one who woke her up, make Misha develop some interest on Issei, but was also embarrassed that he uses his ability to speak to her. The next heir is Sikvera Egg, who had the coldest stare that made the boys that are with the girls shiver in fear, as she was friends with Issei and consider him a good friend, not to mention she has a bit of feelings for him, but she can't express it. Valerie didn't know what to feel. She felt angry on what those girls were doing to her rival and best friend and crush. She would juggernaut drive on them if it wasn't for Lavinia, who was holding her hand. Lavinia felt the same way like Valerie. She was interested on Issei for help Valerie on her past, and not to mention when they first met /Dog Bar, he sang a duet with her and also wished to support her, wouldn't hesitate on helping. And it wasn't just her. It was also Arthur, who was being held by Elaine Westcott. As for Biku, he could only shake his head on disappointment on her two female partners and only thought that the trouble is just starting. Meanwhile, Issei in his state was in pain, but the word of his grandmother, "You'll find the warmth one day. That will save you one day, so don't stop and continue to look for it or be surprised when you find it. Just like me when I found Ikki. Issei, mind how cruel. I did everything for them, and this is how they pay me back. I supported their dreams, protected them from anything that would come to harm them. All I wanted was to feel love and have that warmth on what my family said. I guess they're on their own. I won't support them anymore. I won't help them. They chose that. Right, I'll let them take my place. I hope they have no regrets." He had a sad expression, but trying to act happy. But then he was supported by his best friend and partner. D-Drake connection partner, you don't deserve to cry for them. They are not worth your time. I promise you that you will find the happiness you're looking for. Just like your grandmother says it will appear one day. He said, supporting his partner like a friend, and since he got to know the real Issei. Issei had a smile on his face as he began to wipe off those tears. "You're right, thank you, D-Drake," he said in the whisper, but then all of a sudden he was pat on the shoulder, and it was none other than Surzech, who had a face of worried. "Surzech, Issei, I'm sorry for what Riaz has done. I'll give anything you want as an apology," he said sadly, and surprising the guests that he would get anything. But they also felt sad and angry on the girls who were holding hands with their boyfriends watching this, thinking, why does he get a reward? Issei, "Thank you, Surzech. There's actually 3 things I wish for. I wish for Riaz and the girls to leave my house and to also turn it back to normal this surprise. Everyone but Riaz didn't like that she had to be kicked out." "Riaz, Issei, you can't just kick us," she was interrupted by her brother, who showed off an aura of anger. The first time he was ever angry on her, surprised her, and made her shiver. "Surzech, Riaz, be quiet, I order you as the Mao Lucifer," he said, as his penetrating gaze stared at her, which also made Riaz's boyfriend to piss his pants in fear. He then turned to Issei with an understanding face. "Understood, I'll have Grafia to start packing their things and move out. But as for the house, it's a gift. I cannot change it back to normal, but I can, however, make it a little bit smaller since you won't be needing the extra rooms if that's all right with you," he said, since it was a gift for Issei. Issei nodded in understanding as he said, "I understand, I accept those terms. As for my second wish, I wish to tell my parents about the supernatural. I can't keep hiding the secret anymore. Also, I wish to remove the hypnosis that Riaz has put them." Everyone is surprised. He is going to expose the supernatural to his parents also. They were further disappointed that Riaz used hypnosis on them. Surzech was surprised with the supernatural had to be kept secret, but he understood Issei's feelings. He couldn't keep it a secret anymore to his parents. He turned to look at the other leaders as they are given of approval, except for Yasaka. "I understand you're free to tell them about the supernatural. I hope you can explain it to them properly. And I'm sorry again for what Riaz has done." He was disappointed on his sister. Even more, how far will she bring down the Gremory name? "Issei, as for my last wish, I wish to become a free devil, and as you can see I can't serve Riaz anymore," he said, leaving everyone in shock, including Riaz herself. She was going to argue, but she was then again shut down by her brother, as he gave a smile since now he can announce Issei promotion. "Surzech, I don't think that is necessary." This left Issei and everyone else in the room completely shocked, except for the leaders. Well, Yasaka didn't know though. "Issei, what do you mean?" Surzech, very confused and wondering what the Mao had in mind. "Surzech, Issei Hyoudou, I would like to announce that you have been promoted to high class. You do not have to take the test as you have proven it with your actions. Me and the rest of the leaders have approved this. Congratulations." Everyone in the room were surprised, including Issei, who didn't know how to feel anymore. He felt very happy. He achieved one of his goals, even though that goal was supposed to be the same rank as Riaz and to prove that he's an equal with her. But things changed. As for the girls, they were completely surprised that he made it to high class somewhere, thinking that he will complete his promise since they promised that they would join Issei peerage when he becomes high class. Author's note: wow, what a bunch of morons. Well, one of them is a moron who thinks with her fist and instead of brain. Issei he was happy as he had a smile as everyone around him began to clap their hands, and congratulations, it seems to live up the mood. Everyone thank you. I'll do my best, he said with a lot of emotions, but had a question: when will I receive my evil pieces? Before Surzech could even say anything he was interrupted by Ajuka. Ajuka, you can come to my laboratory tomorrow. I believe you need some time for yourself, don't you, he said, as Issei nodded while he began to take out the pamphlet and was ready to teleport back to the human world but was stopped by the girls. Asia, Issei, congratulations on your promotion. Does that mean you're going to fulfill your promise that I would join your peerage? Said very innocently without noticing that Issei stayed frozen. As everyone began to wonder if she a moron, but before Issei could say anything he was interrupted by two other girls. Ravel, that right, Issei-sama, you promised that to my mother that I would join your peerage again. Everyone was silent as the Phoenix were disappointed on Ravel. Even her mother was upset, like, did she really say that? Zenobia, that right, Issei, you promised that I would be knight since my life wouldn't be interested with you around. Don't tell me you've forgotten now. Everyone was disappointed and angry. Clearly that declaration should mean I'll always be with you. Issei was in total silence. Are these three idiots? They're literally saying this right now, and do they expect him to have them around even while they broke his heart? Unknown to Issei, he began to let out an intimidating aura along with the help of Didrag, who was also pissed off, made it even terrifying. Issei, are you idiots, or what are you really saying that right now? Even though you guys cheated on me, you guys really think I would accept you to join my peerage? He yelled it in frustration and anger. What makes him think he would let them join? Asia, but Issei-san, but she then shut her mouth, seeing Issei's angry expression, gazing at her. Issei, I know I said I promise, but that promise is broken because of you girls. I won't make you join my peerage, he in fury as Asia began to cry, making Zenobia angry on Issei's attitude towards her. Zenobia, Issei, stop yelling, you're making Asia cry or else I have to use X Durandal, she said, drawing her sword, leaving everyone in shock. Are you seriously pulling out your sword? But even before she could go over and reach Issei, she was then stopped by Grisela, who wielded a light sword that left Zenobia in shock by being stopped by her mentor, mother figure. Zenobia was going to say something but was punched in the stomach by Grisela, causing Zenobia to drop X Durandal, and was being cured by Asia, who was in shock that Grisela would do this to Zenobia. As the mentioned Grisela pick up X Durandal, stare at Zenobia in disappointment. Grisela, you idiot, did you really draw your sword in a party? I really do think you have to take re-education. But this time I won't be there to teach you anymore, and as punishment I'm taking this away. You don't deserve Durandal, she said, walking towards Lord Michael, who took the sword and was considering something, so began to speak to his brothers and sisters, while Zenobia was left in shock. Zenobia, what are you talking about? Grisela, she said, very confused on what she meant not teaching her anymore. Grisela, just like I said, I ain't teaching you anymore. I am done with this attitude of yours. I believe you would change while being with Issei-kun, but no, you haven't changed at all. Also, you no longer hold the name Quarta. I am disowning you. I no longer consider you as my daughter. This left Zenobia petrified. The only family she had abandoned her. She didn't know what to feel, not to mention that her boyfriend isn't doing anything to help her at this moment. Also, seeing a few guests haven't realized that Grisela said Issei-kun instead of Hyoudou, well, except for a few girls who are interested in Issei. Meanwhile, Issei was surprised that Grisela saved him, and also that he called him Issei-kun instead of Hyoudou like she always does. But like an idiot, he didn't think much about it as he looked at Grisela with smile and grateful for what she had done. What he didn't know from this action made the Queen of Hearts had a tint of pink in her cheek, as she shook her head on thinking of being with a young man like Issei. But then an image crossed her mind of her together with Issei hold a baby. She immediately shook those images off her head. Issei, well, I better start going. I have a lot to think about. Please enjoy the party and Rias. Girls, I hope you have no regrets, he said as everyone said goodbye to Issei, and as for the girl that mentally said that they had no regrets. Author's note, they're going to regret it big time. Issei began to use the pamphlet to teleport away, even though the girls that have feelings for him were going to try to stop him. We stopped by Ajuka, who said to give him time. Human World Ku Park. We currently see Issei in Ku Park, the place where he died and was turned into a devil. He changed his outfit with magic, having a black jacket with his classic red shirt while wearing black jeans and some sneakers as he begins to walk around the park thinking about his future, but then all of a sudden he heard a voice. It was someone singing. Out of curiosity, he walked towards the direction of that singing, and as a beautiful foreign girl who appears to be in her late teens with long purple hair. She is wearing a white dress like a noble that exposes much of her large ass, with high slits and long sleeves. She also wears a black mini skirt. This girl was currently singing a beautiful song that somehow captivated Issei, but not just him but also Didrag, who felt like he heard the singing before when he was still alive. So with nothing else to do, he began to shut his eyes and move his head following the rhythm of her singing. For some reason it really brought him in peace, he didn't know why. But it felt nice. After finishing her singing, she opened her orange eyes before she spotted Issei, who had his eyes closed and seemed to listen to her sing. She was surprised and never realized someone was listening to her, but then a voice in her head spoke to her. Connection partner, don't panic, he is not here to hurt you. In his aura he has a sacred gear, and judging by the aura I think it's the Welsh dragon Didrag, the Red Dragon Emperor, so don't panic and trust me, the voice said to the girl who nodded and talked to the voice. Connection, if you say so, Kyrie. But are you sure I can trust him, and what's your relationship with the Red Dragon Emperor? The girl asked the voice. Kairi connection, of course, Ingvilchen, you can trust him, and beside it he has no evil intentions. Instead, I could feel a great pain inside him. It seemed something must have happened to him, the voice said sadly as she could feel this boy pain. And how I know Drake? Well, you can say that we're friends. It's a long story. I'll be glad to tell you, but I think you need to focus your attention on him. The voice said all cheerfully when it came to Drake, her past. Ingvild connection, okay then, but I'm surprised that you know the Welsh dragon, she said mentally as she can't wait to listen to another story about her partner in sacred gear, Kairi, also known as Narrate Kairi. Ingvild focused her attention on Issei, and for some strange reason she could feel him in pain, and for some reason it hurt her see that. Meanwhile, Issei, who was in a trance of her, slowly got his senses back, and he opened his eyes and noticed her staring back at him. Both started staring at each other. No one spoke, they just looked at each other. Before the girl started to speak, Ingvild, you are the Red Dragon Emperor, right? She said. Very shy voice was so captivating made him pause for a second before he responded. Issei, yeah, who are you? He said, very surprised that someone knows about him, but he also couldn't lose focus. She could be an enemy. Ingvild, well, Kairi told me you, I mean my sacred gear, she said, pointing at her neck, where appears a black necklace with purple gems as her eyes turned purple when she materialized her sacred gear. Issei was surprised that she had a sacred gear since he could feel that she's a devil and human like Valerie. As for Drake, he was watching over this girl until he heard the name Kairi. A memory came to mind when he was alive and he was fishing together with another dragon, this one being a sea dragon, as they both seemed to laugh together and be happy. She was the first female dragon that hasn't asked to fight him to be his mate, or a dragon that tried to kill him. No, she was his first female friend. All of a sudden Issei boosted gear materialized and a voice spoke. Drake, Kairi, is that you? He spoke from the green gem in a voice of disbelief and surprise. Kairi, Drake, it's good to see you. I mean hear your voice. You know what I mean, she said with a small laugh. That caused Drake to laugh as well. Drake, yeah, I know what you mean. What are you doing here? Why are you sealed in a sacred gear? He asked, worried about his friend and wondering how the hell did she become a sacred gear. Did God kill her? If he did, Drake wished that he could kill him again, but Kairi's next words left him in shock. Kairi, oh, about that, I was killed by Tiamat, she said, dropping a huge bomb on Drake, leaving our two pairs devil in surprise on her word. For Ingvild, she never asked her because she thought it would bring her bad memories. For Issei, he was in shock. He knew Tiamat from Drake and asked him to stay away from her since she had killed all of Drake's former partner. Drake, oh wait, Tiamat, why? I don't understand, I need context. He basically shouted, why did Tiamat kill his friend? What was the whole reason for that to happen? Kairi, well, one day I was staying in your territory since I was being chased by some male dragons. I was thinking of asking you to let me stay for a while, but you weren't around, so I believe you went to fight Albion. So I decided to rest in the beach and wait for your return. Then all of a sudden I got attacked by a blue dragon I recognize as Tiamat. And as you know, I'm not much of a fighter, so I began to run away, swimming in the sea trying to lose her. But she kept trying to follow me and shouting, you whore, how dare you be around my mate, I will kill you so you'll never be around him anymore. She said I was going to tell her that we are friends, but she didn't listen to me, so she caught me and killed me, leaving everyone in the room silenced. The reason why she died was because of a jealous female dragon who thought of taking her mate. Drake was in shock that happened to his friend. Inside the boosted gear we can see Drake being enveloped with a red aura, and he was mad. Tiamat killed his first female friend out of jealousy. He was pissed. He thought Kairi abandoned him, but no, she was killed by Tiamat, and spoke to Issei, partner, I'm going to ask you this, are you with me? He shouted, surprising Issei, frightening Ingvild. Issei, oh Drake, you good, and what do you mean by I'm with you? Issei didn't know what to say, he was scared. Drake, what I'm saying is that are you with me on killing Tiamat? She deserves to pay for what she did to Kairi, he said, in a very scary voice that frightened the two devils. Issei, but Drake, you told me to stay away from her, he shouted back, not wanting to die because of Drake influence. Drake, change of plans, partner, besides, you're stronger than her. If we use Diablo's dragon god, then we'll crush her, he said, making Issei worried. Issei, Drake, come back to your senses, you know I haven't mastered that form, right? And are we seriously going to use it on her? Before things could escalate, fate seems to be on their side as stray devils be to appear as they were all looking at Ingvild and making Issei to stand right in front of her, protecting her while materializing a scallon from the boosted gear. Think Issei as Mordred and Ingvild as Kairi. Imagine Ingvild using water slashes and use hot water like acid. As both of them finished their fight, Issei was surprised that a girl like her could fight, so he began to ask her about that. Issei, so you know how to fight, where did you learn how to do that? He asked her, hold his sword while being in his armor. Ingvild, I am self-taught, the people that look after me said I had to defend myself, so I've tried this really hard. You were amazing with the sword, she said, showing a pretty cute expression on how hard she really worked, and then talk about it, moving around and destroying the bigger stray devils. Issei, well, it's all thanks to the Drake, and I've practiced with the sword before, not to mention experience helps, he said, as he didn't want to take all the credit, but he did work hard with sword. But he needs to get back to training to improve. Ingvild had a complicated expression. How many times has she been attacked by stray devils? Then she realizing why it was because of her power and thought that she could bring trouble to a lot of people as Ingvild looked at Issei's sword and said, Issei, could you please kill me? This left Issei along with his partner Drake in shock as Kairi began to shout back. Kairi, Ingvildchen, no, I won't let you die. I understand why you want to die. Not to mention you woke up from that sleep disease. The purple gem shouted at her partner without knowing that Issei heard what she said. She had the sleep disease that puts devil into an everlasting sleep. Issei, you woke up from that disease. Wait, that means you're older than me. He was surprised. He didn't think she was that old, but can you how grave that disease was? It must mean that she doesn't know what happened in centuries. Ingvild, that right Issei, I am a lot older than I look. I was asleep in this age, and I lost my adoptive parents when falling asleep for 100 years, she said sadly about losing people who were important to her, and had a thought besides the people who are no longer here, and I'm sure no one would grieve for a stranger, so please Issei. Issei, he was saddened to hear her story that she lost the only people that can about her, and began to shake his head and said, I'll cry for you. I will be sad and mourn over your death because you're my friend, and besides, I believe that your adoptive parents would want you to live, he said as he made Ascalon disappear and hold her hand as Ingvild begins to cry. Ingvild was surprised even though she met Issei, and they fought together for a little while and talked in a short time. He considered her friend as she cried, but then was surprised even further when Issei hugged her. They stayed silent as she continued to sniffle, but she gradually calmed down, and for some reason she felt a strong warmth in her. Instead of pushing herself away from Issei, she wrapped herself tightly on Issei to receive more of that warmth. As for Issei, he was surprised that Ingvild hugged him tightly and also felt a warmth in this that was healing the pain he had suffered from the girls. Ingvild begins to look at Issei and says, then I beg you help me Issei and teach me what I miss, she said in tears as she noticed Issei's reassuring gaze. Issei, I promise you I will take care of you. We'll find out something about your treatment. We can do anything you want. If you want to sing, then let's sing. I'll even take you to the beach, he said. This time he would make a new promise with a new friend, and he would keep it. But then all of a sudden they felt shivers, a dark ominous feeling as around them as Issei was in front of Ingvild as he noticed someone appearing from the darkness. A beautiful young woman with a cute face of a child with long black hair and with pointy ears. She wears a cute frilly dress known as killer that has a corset jumper skirt. Her body also gives out a tremendous dark aura. Issei was in guard. He could tell that this woman is strong and using his senses. He knew she is not a devil, angel, fallen angel, but a divine aura, which means he's in front of a goddess. The woman in question was looking at them before she gazed to Issei, who looked at but had a shiver passing through his spine, but it got worse when she winked flirty towards him. Meanwhile, Ingvild was jealous but was also trembled a little when the goddess gave her a mocking look, making Ingvild hide her face in Issei's neck. As the goddess spoke to them, Goddess Red Dragon Emperor, also known as the Op-Eye Dragon, she said the title of Issei, who decided to change it in the future because right in front of the girl he swore to protect became embarrassing. Meanwhile, Kairi was laughing at D-Drag for such a title. As for D-Drag, he was given a hard blow in the heart and got really depressed that his female friend was laughing at his stupid title. But Kairi said next left D-Drag wished that if he was still alive, he wished to make Kairi his mate. Kairi Fufufu, that really is a funny title, but honestly it kind of suits you. If we were still alive, maybe I should have showed more of my. This left everyone quiet. Meanwhile, Issei supported D-Drag and tell him that he should have made Kairi his mate. As for D-Drag, he couldn't help but agree and curse his damn luck he could have had a mate, but he died. Meanwhile, Ingvild was thinking that Issei likes. She began to wonder if hers are the perfect size or Issei preference, as Kairi said that her S are perfect. The two devils, together with their dragons, were speaking to each other silly. Meanwhile, the goddess was annoyed and felt like she was left out, so she started a tantrum. Goddess, hey, pay attention to me, I was talking to you too, she said very angrily as the two devils began to apologize to her as the goddess began to cough and start her dialogue again. Ahem, hello Red Dragon Emperor. An Ingvild Leviathan descendant, the original Leviathan. This left Issei in shock to think his friend is a descendant of the original Leviathan, but before he could question Ingvild, the goddess interrupted. I am one of the primordial gods of Olympus. Nyx, the goddess of night, she announced proudly, as this left both of them surprised because Issei never met Nyx despite his visit to Mount Olympus. As for Ingvild, this was the first time she ever met a goddess. Issei, so tell me what brings a goddess of the night here, he said as he was still in guard but also wondering why is she here. Nyx, I am glad you asked that question, Red Dragon Emperor. I am here for the Leviathan, she declared, putting Issei even further in guard as Ingvild was surprised by this and asked why her. Ingvild, why do you want me, she asked as Nyx began to float and starts to get closer to them before responding. Nyx, sorry, but that's classified and I won't tell you, so I recommend you, Red Dragon Empire, to move aside or else you have to fight me, she said as she begins to get closer to them. Meanwhile, Issei refused to move, but he really wanted to know why does she want to take Ingvild, so he used his trusted ability on talking to and asked Nyx on the reason. And they said we're lonely. That surprised him, so he asked as she gets closer. Issei, is it because you're lonely? That question left everyone quiet and made Nyx stop in her tracks as she trembled. Nyx, how did you know? She said, trembling and wondering how the hell did he figured it out. Issei, well, I don't know if you want to know, it would embarrass you, said Issei while looking at the goddess as he scratches his cheek. While Ingvild stared at him. Nyx, say it or you'll receive a divine punishment, she shouted at him. Ingvild, Issei, say it please, she gives puppy dog eyes. Issei, he felt pressured and charmed by the two girls and said it, well, I spoke to you and asked them the reason why you want Ingvild and they said we're lonely. He said make both girls have pink cheeks. Reason for Nyx is because he spoke to her like it was normal and felt like she was betrayed by her own body. It seemed like her feelings are very honest. Damn it, she doesn't know what face she making right now. Ingvild, she was surprised by Issei's ability on talking to, but she understood Nyx now. She must have been lonely as a goddess of night, so she walked up to her and hold her hands and walks her towards the near bench. Then let talk about it. Nyx was surprised by this, but she didn't shake Ingvild's hands away, instead followed her and sat on the right side of Ingvild as Issei sat on the left, having Ingvild surrounded by both sides as she was hesitant on say her why she was lonely, but reassuring gazes from both of them made her take a deep breath and spoke about it. Nyx, I am the primordial goddess of the night. At the beginning I was with other primordials, but then they vanished or returned to their domains. I was left alone, completely alone. Even my brother Erebus walked away. Nyx looked at the ground. Her words sounded with sadness and loneliness. Then the Titans appeared, but it was a dark time. Then the Olympic gods rose up. They feared me, but after a certain time, they don't care anymore. I was left alone again. The two devils were surprised. She was left by everyone, even her own brother. They felt really sorry for her. I tried to bother others to gain a little attention, but it wasn't what I was looking for. When I fought Ingvild, I thought maybe I could make her my friend since we're both strong, but I thought you wouldn't want to be my friend for being a goddess, so I decided to kidnap you, but I guess failed. Huh, sniff sniff. Nyx began to cry, worrying the two devils. Ingvild didn't know she felt that way, neither did Issei. But Issei got up from the bench and walked to be in front of Nyx and hugged her. The primordial goddess, for the first time in millennia, started to cry with sadness and joy. Sadness for her years of loneliness and not wanting to leave this warmth that Issei was provided. And joy to have the opportunity to finally have friends, but something else was growing inside her when she was with Issei. Ingvild couldn't help it, she couldn't. Her tears fell from her eyes because of the loneliness Nyx must felt. She approached and took the goddess' hand together with hers while Issei was trying to stop Nyx from crying. Okay then, we can be friends if you want to. Nyx raised her head, her eyes shone a smile as she nodded. Nyx, thank you, I would love to be your friend. Ingvild Leviathan. Nyx smiled happy with Ingvild before turning to Issei. You too, Issei Hyoudou, do you wish to be friends with a goddess? She was nervous from the answer. Issei, sure, I would love to be friends with you, and if you need anything, don't be afraid to ask. Also, you're free to visit my home, he said with a smile. Time skip. Issei Hyoudou is currently in Gregory together with his girlfriend Valerie Lucifer to support Gregory in keeping all the inventions in a completely isolated and safe room to prevent anything from being stolen. It was several hours in which he was arranging boxes, storing important items and other things. At least that was what he could do after everything that he's been through. So to start with, after the events with Nyx and Ingvild, they said goodbye to each other, but since Ingvild had no place to stay, Issei invited her to his house, where he told her that he was going to explain the supernatural to them and remove the hypnosis that is placed on. After explaining the situation to his parents, they took it pretty easily, but they were still surprised that they had Lucifer in their house. But they were also very angry on the girls for cheating on Issei. When the girls showed up to collect their stuff being watched by Grafia, they were nearly killed by Issei's mother, who had kitchen knives and threw them like an expert on the walls, which frightening the girls and surprised both husband and son that she could do that. Meanwhile, Ingvild had become their new daughter, but they've also noticed the relationship she has with Issei, so like every mother, Mickey began to support them and to make them fall in love for each other. Surprisingly, it worked, and both of them started dating, but that didn't last long since the other girls who were interested in Issei became his girlfriends too. Let's go by order. Ingvild and Issei live together as they both went to school together, since Issei's parents also allowed Ingvild to go to school to experience it, as she turned into one of the most populous girls in school. Speaking of school, the perverted trio has become the perverted duo. Why, well, that's pretty simple. Issei stopped acting like a pervert and started acting more gentlemanly, and also joined the cooking club. The reason he wanted to be ready for the future, so might as well pick up some lessons unknown to him. Issei had a natural talent in cooking. Even the club members were surprised that his food could actually taste good, so Issei titled change into the Prince of Cooking, another title that shamed D-Drag and made Kyrie laugh. There were also rumors saying that the reason why Issei changed was for Ingvild, which made a few girls jealous but also support that love. Sadly, this even went to the ears of the Gremory group, who seemed to not have a good day. The relationship between Issei and Ingvild has deepened in the past years. Ingvild supports Issei in his training sessions, and as her queen, that right as queen, Ingvild asked to join Issei peerage, and he agreed, but sadly problems showed up, and that being the Devil Council. They tried to force Ingvild to be an incubator for being the last descendant of Leviathan, but this didn't go well as the Devil Council no longer exists anymore. It almost seems like they were wiped off the earth. But luckily young devils took their places and started having new ideas for the devil world, changing it into a better place. It seems things were going better for the devils. By the way, the Oppi Dragon show was changed into the Crimson Dragon show, with the Crimson Dragon Knight and the Sea Princess became the most popular couple, then the Oppi Dragon and the Switch Princess. The reason why was because the Sea Princess sang beautiful songs that attracted the attention of the audience on how the songs were meant her and the knight. And they finally became official after being pushed by everyone around them. But that didn't stop a few other girls. Laita was the next person to become Issei's girlfriend. When the day came when he received his evil pieces, he spoke more to Laita while waiting patiently for evil pieces, and they got along very well. That Laita came over to visit Issei, much to his parents' surprise, as Mickey couldn't believe that she would have more daughter-in-laws, which made her happy. After Laita, next to follow was Elmenhile, who pushed her relationship on getting closer to Issei, as she also became a member of Issei peerage, being 2 pawn pieces, and Issei began to let her suck his more often as he caresses her head. Next was Ophis, who slowly began to learn emotions by the new residents of the Hyoudou household and was taught about love by Ingvild, who explained the feeling, making Ophis aware of her feelings towards Issei, and relied on Ingvild as support, who gladly helped and made the two end up together. By the way, Ingvild supports the harem idea of Issei since she knows he won't choose one and treat them any different but love them equally. Next was Ingvil, who took her time on trying to be with Issei alone, as the two mainly talked about anime and mecha, but one day Issei decided to give a present, and it was a limited edition Gundam, and presented it to her that left her completely shocked. So both of them started to have feelings for each other as Ingvil started to stop acting cold towards everyone around her, making the people around her happy to see her smiling, and they knew it was because of that Issei. Even Ingvil's parents began to start planning on their engagement, as the two mentioned didn't say anything about it. Next was Nyx. It took her a while to understand that she fell in love with Issei, who has done nothing but support her and give her anything she wants, to the point where she clinged to him like a koala for one entire day. Nyx finally accepted being part of Issei harem. Also, let me not forget that she said that she also fell in love with Ingvild and claimed that she was Beul. Edelweiss was next, as she was no longer blocked by Roswish. She decided to finally speak to Issei, as the two seemed to get along pretty well. They even exchanged sword techniques, not to mention they went on a couple dates, which made Issei surprised that even though she had a face of seriousness and ready for battle, she can show a cute side of herself. Not mention her pies taste good. Momo explains to Issei about their childhood, leaving Issei surprised that he never realized that Momo was the White Lily princess who he always protected from any danger when they were kids. They slowly started dating, and eventually Issei asked Sona for an exchange of pieces with Momo, which the mentioned girl accepted and wished Momo good luck along with her peerage partners. Also, Issei congratulated Sagi on winning Sona heart together with Ruruko. Valerie, she took a while to finally express her feelings on Issei, as the mentioned boy was surprised that his rival actually had a cute side instead of a battle-hungry tomboy. Not to mention that Albion and Diedrag realized why they fought in the first place, and it was just for fun. They didn't hate each other. They just played around. This left the two carriers frozen. There wasn't no ancient history about them fighting, instead they just played. Lavinia wanted to learn more about Issei because Valerie feeling towards him. Valerie said if she wants to know, then she has to go on a date with Issei to find out, even though it was supposed to be a joke. Lavinia went on that date with Issei to get to know him as a person and couldn't help but like being with him. It was fun, and she had a really great time. One time Issei was enchanted by her singing voice as Lavinia was getting closer to him and being straightforwardness with her advances. She even got along with Ingvild, and the two become great friends who have a passion for music. Suzaku was very hesitant at first. The reason why is because of Kino, but lately they've been getting along more. Issei treated her well and was there to support her when problems happened to Hanjima clan. Ever since the incident with Yasaka happened, the Yakai asked for one of the clans to watch over her until they can find a better leader or wait until Kanu comes to age. The Hanjima took the responsibility on taking care of Kanu, have Issei visit them more often to watch Kanu as well. When all three of them spend time together, strangers thought of them as a young couple with a child. So Issei's life was filled, but nothing but happiness. He had girls that love him, a good home that was left for him by his grandparents. He got back to training to get stronger for the girls and the factions, while also wielding his grandparents' swords, being in Tetsu, Leviathan. But one day when he invited the factions leaders to his home and made dinner for them, which made everyone surprised by his delicious cooking skills, that made 5 women who were interested in him were even more interested. But then Michael looked at Issei's personal sword and asked about it. Issei told the story that it was a sword they found in a temple and given it to him because it resembles me, something he didn't understand. But the factions could understand it when they look at Issei. Then the sword, it was like they were perfect, and said why he can't wield it because of fear, because it gave him nightmares. Seeing himself with an evil smile that was terrifying while hold the sword on his right hand and cover in armor. After telling his story, Azazel began to pull out a device and analyze the sword, and found the problem was that the sword is a demonic sword with the interesting ability of sealing soul or object, and use said ability of who it seal. Issei was amazed by his sword, so asked Azazel to stop with the nightmares, so he agreed, having Penemu to help as Michael asked to help along with Gabriel, Griselda. And so they were working on the sword and made it a wholly demonic sword with the Excalibur fragments, as it gave a green glow. Gabriel was the one to gifted it to him and told him not to be afraid because he and the sword are one and the same, while holding his hand on hold the sword and given him a smile that calmed Issei. And they asked what its name. Name the sword, I'll choose the best name. Now, then you guys are probably wondering what happened to Riaz and the other girls, right? Well, then let me tell you what happened. Well, Riaz lost her position as heir, which means that Riaz's boyfriend dumped her because all he wanted was her fortune. That was all he cared about, not about her and only the Gremory. But sadly, poor fool had died by the hands of an angry mother who didn't care about her anymore. But Riaz wasn't the only one suffering. Next, Asia boyfriend. The relationship could be said great if you consider it a compliment, since Asia boyfriend was just so annoyed by Asia for acting like a small animal that needs to be protected. Not to mention they hardly even talk, making Asia cry that she's not doing anything good enough. That annoyed him since he has to calm her down. But when they were separated, Asia's boyfriend cheats on her behind her back, until she found out and couldn't do nothing about it. All she could do is cry. Next, Akino's boyfriend at first acted like a kind gentleman and very cunning in the first date, but then he got sharp and cold with her, trying to touch her more despite her pleas. But then Akino didn't know what happened. She was greeting a classmate, then the next thing she saw was that she was on the floor holding her cheek as her boyfriend had a sweet smile as he said, "You can't talk to other men than me," but what's worse was that he humiliated her in the street, saying that he breaks up with her for being a slut. Make Akino run home and tell her father everything. As for her boyfriend, he got the beating he deserved, but the damage was done. Akino stayed depressed, and the only thing that calmed her was a shirt of Issei. Zenobia thought everything would be fine with her boyfriend, who was the captain of the school soccer team. She tried to go out with him. She thought he was the one who would give her a worthy heirs of her. Everything was a stupid illusion. He was only been interested in her to lose his ID, and to add insult to injury, he was weak. He always run from a fight, not even trying, sometimes leaving Zenobia behind. If only she listened to Griselda that have a child isn't just on have strong, brave children warriors, but love that was created by two who love each other. Sadly, she won't ever have that because her boyfriend left her and Issei would never come back. Irina stopped being an angel and her parents were nothing but disappointed on her. They treated her the same, but not with much love. Speaking of her boyfriend, he was nothing but a control person. He really got annoyed when she started saying things about God and worshipping him like a fanatic. Eventually, he left her, saying that he doesn't want to be with someone that annoys him too much. If only she stuck with her promise on being with Issei. Kaniko's relationship didn't last very long. The person she was dating only done it out of a bet and said he would never be interested in a flat, short, unexpressive, who doesn't even bother showing a smile, which led her into depression and desperately trying to look for the warmth she used to had those caresses on her head, sit on his lap, pamper her by feeding her sweets will never return. Ravel relationship ended the same time as Kaniko. Ravel boyfriend seemed to be the ideal partner, a handsome and athletic gentleman. She tried desperately on inviting him to tea. He said it was boring and said to stop act like a grandma as he show even more disrespectful towards her and the clothes she wears, but the worst was when he insulted her family. Let's say her family found out about this and roasted him to ash. She was brought back to the House of Phoenix. She tried to be Issei manager again, but he got new manage and the show changed a lot with a new heroine. Roswis wasn't allowed to go to Asgard anymore, and her grandmother Gondel never wanted to speak to her ever again. As for the Valkyries, they considered her an outcast, not thinking of her as a Valkyrie but a slut. What was worse was that Edelweiss is dating Issei and she seemed to be happy. As for Roswis' boyfriend, their relationship was only last a week. He was a handsome teacher who tried to have his advances towards her until realizing that he was married and had children, and the reason for dating her was to boost his ego. Yasaka relationship was terrible. The guy wanted political status for the leader of the Yakai faction, also being known as the most beautiful woman of all factions, was deceived. The worst was the relationship with her daughter, who wanted the Red Dragon Emperor as her father. A partner didn't treat Kanu well, instead he insulted her and scolded her. But one day Kanu had enough and punched Yasaka boyfriend and said that Issei was a better father because he takes care of her and protects her while make her smile, and ran away to stay with Suzaku, who was currently going to be Issei lover. But one day she heard that her boyfriend was sleeping with another Yakai and said that he would remove Yasaka and make his lover the queen, so she kicked him out. And she desperately tried to get Kanu back but couldn't because of the Yakai, and Heimjima family didn't let her pass. Kuroka relationship was nothing but a lie. He was a liar who said that he could defeat a dragon and didn't care about her to beat her and slap her just to prove his superiority. One day Kuroka escaped and tried to see Leffe but was attacked by Arthur, who said that a cat from the street doesn't belong here. Next she tried to see her leader, who was on a date with the man she left, and felt envy on seeing them happy together. And now she became a wandering cat on the streets until joining Ria's group just to have a roof over her head. Leffe relationship was terrible as its time shows off her discoveries on magic. Her boyfriend steals it and makes it seem like it was his idea. Force Leffe not to say a thing about it, since he wanted to boost his ego, but he made a terrible mistake. When he was going to hit Leffe when Arthur arrived and saw this and decapitated him, she was forced to go back to the Pendragon house and stop learning magic and start act like a noble and being stuck in the house, only able to come out if it's by her brother's side. All because they wanted a mature and strong handsome man who is not just a pervert like Issei once was, and they considered him a child. But would a child really save them from Chaos Brigade and the Beast of Apocalypse? Back with Issei, he was finishing with his task that should have took him some more hours, but he got finished really fast. He was thinking of spending his time with Valerie, but he wanted to see if Azazel had any more work for him. So he began to look for him until he was told that he was in a personal project he was working on. But no one could answer without the key card. Luckily or unlucky, he was given the key card to open anything, so he arrived and saw in a heavy suit turning on a machine that opened the portal, sucking anything, as Azazel cheered that it worked. Azazel at work, it works. He desperately hopped even while wearing that heavy suit, but then he was being shouted by Issei, who was currently floating the portal. Issei, Azazel, what the hell is this thing? Why is it trying to suck me? Hey, help, he tried, screaming to get his attention until finally getting it. Azazel, Issei, what are you doing here? Get out of there or we'll lose you in another dimension, he shouted, trying to catch up to Issei. Issei, why the hell did you make a portal of another dimension? When did you heading time? Hurry up and shut this thing off, he said, trying to activate his armor and try to use his thrusters to jet himself out. Azazel, you're right, I should have just pulled the lever before even turning around. The lever, as mentioned, broke position to shut the portal down, but the lever flew very fast, hitting Issei on the head and was pushed inside. As the portal started to close, but Issei's last words were heard. Issei, Azazel, you bastard, it was the only words echo. Azazel just stood there frozen. He looked at his machine and saw that it was destroyed from the inside. He was going to tell the leaders, but then he was interrupted by someone opening the door. Azazel didn't just give Issei a key card but also Valerie. Valerie, Azazel, where my darling, at last I sent him here and now he's gone, not even Albion senses D-Drag anymore. So I'm asking you, what did you do? She was very angry and knew that Azazel did something. Azazel, how the hell do you think I did anything? He basically was in panic. He knew he was going to be hunted down. Valerie, that's easy because whenever a problem shows up, it's always you, she said before looking at the portal. Then looking at her surroundings, noticing a wall, the project named Dimensional Travel, and just like that, she blew up and started to hunt him down. But she also called back up Ingvild, Nyx, Momo, Lavinia, Suzaku, Sikvira, Laita, Edelweiss, Ophis, and also told Penemu about what happened, so she contacted Gabriel, Serafall, Griselda, and Misha. Azazel, I guess it's true, never make a woman angry, he said, avoiding the explosions and attacks coming after him, not even trying to look back. Legs and wing, don't let me down. Unknown location. Pain was the first thing Issei felt. A permeating headache grinded his forehead, arresting him of any will to move. A simple twitch ignited the wounds, aches, and sores throughout his body. It was best for him to not move. Stillness offered an escape that he savored. Then a wet something streaked across his cheek, jolting a groan from him. Fu, there you, a girl's voice called out. Wait a moment. Who did you jump on this time? Oh no, what happened to him? Issei could hear footsteps rushing towards him. Each step intensified his headache. A hand like a breeze on a summer day pressed against his forehead. He's running a high fever, and his clothes are such a mess that I need to bring him to Dr. Roman. Nashu, did you find Fu yet? Oh my, what's going on? Another girl called out. Nashu, Ritsuke-senpai, he's hurt. We need to bring him to the infirmary, the girl pleaded. Ritsuka pressed her finger against his wrist. His pulse isn't irregular, despite his heavy fever. All this on his clothes. Did he get attacked? Is he conscious? Issei opened his eyes, wincing at the bright lights from the ceiling. Few tears rushed out to soothe his aching eyes. All he saw a shade of pink and red. Weary blank settled the shades into two people, a short pink-haired girl with glasses and a red-haired girl. Something wet, perhaps drew his attention to a white-furred animal at his hand. Issei, who are you? He struggled to form coherent words. Where am I? D-Drag you there? Ritsuka, easy now, I'm Ritsuka Fujimaru. And this is, the red-haired girl pointed to her companion, Mashu Kairilite. We'll get you to Dr. Roman. Can you stand? Issei, I'll try. With a shaky nod, he staggered to his feet. His knees were shaking. If Ritsuka and Mashu didn't hold onto his arms, he would have fallen. They set off down the hallway, one step at a time. He grimaced. Thanks. Ritsuka, don't strain yourself. Do you recall what happened to you? Issei, he was going to answer, but a voice prevented him to and was giving him a headache. He remembered that voice, it was D-Drag, so he decided to keep quiet from his newfound companions. Ritsuka, never mind, you're not in any condition to answer. The infirmary is just around this corner. Issei sighed in relief on not explaining what happened to him and only thought. Issei, mind Azazel, where the hell did you send me? Ending opening. Issei was looking around until he saw a sign, Medical Care, Dr. Romani Archaman. The door slid open to reveal a smiling man eating a slice of cake at his desk. He savored each bite with closed eyes before noticing the trio's arrival. With a gulp and a clatter, he jumped from his chair and dashed towards them. Romani, here, bring him to the bed over here. He pointed at the elevated bed as they placed Issei down as the bed creaked under Issei's weight, his body rejoicing at the softness. Roman, he activated machinery that began to scan Issei at all angles. Several torn muscles, various internal injuries, some bone fractures, and superficial wounds that need to be dressed. Did you two see what happened to him? Ritsuka, Fu and Mashu found him lying on the floor, answered the red-haired girl. I asked what happened to him, but he didn't answer, so I guess he doesn't remember what happened to him. Roman, strange, it looked like he was attacked, but there's no report from security about any incidents. His clothes don't look like one of our uniforms. Roman turned to Issei. Hi, I'm Romani Archaman, the chief doctor here, but you can call me Dr. Roman. What's your name and rank? Issei, my name is Issei Hyoudou. Issei frowned on the meaning of a rank. What do you mean by rank? Ritsuka, you don't know where you're assigned in Chaldea, she asked curiously since it's so obvious. Issei, Chaldea, what is that? He began to wonder where the hell he is right now, and think of ways to punish Azazel. Mashu and Ritsuka shared a look, while Roman kept his eyes on the results on the monitor. Roman, this is unusual. He doesn't possess any magic circuits, but an immense amount of odd is circulating within his body. Astonishing, it appears to have a draconic signature when referenced with the database. I can barely believe it, he spoke in surprise while Issei was panicking that they know he is a dragon. Ritsuka, what she exclaimed as she rushed to the monitor. A human with the energy of a dragon, not just Chaldea but nearly all of the magic organizations would have leapt to grab a hold of him. Issei winced at their excitement as his headache increased. His vision furred. He was no longer on that bed. He stood where his subconscious is together with his best friend and partner. Issei mind. Issei Drag, what the hell happened? I remember the portal, but everything else is a blur. Why does my body hurt so much? He said with a voice filled with panic. Drag, he seemed to be tried while speaking to Issei. I don't know, partner, but I recommend that you don't use your abilities for now and focus on gathering information. Issei understood. I'll be cautious, but do you remember what happened when we entered the portal? He said, wanting to remember what happened since all he could remember is a troll appearing out of nowhere. Drag, from what I remember, this is what happened. The dragon explained the story on what happened. Flashback. In a space filled with nothing while traveling in a tunnel to nothing was a red armor. This was no other than Issei in his scale mail whilst talking to his friend and partner Drag. Issei Drag, where are we? Issei said while looking at his surroundings for an exit of this place. Issei has been moved with no stop, almost feeling nausea for the constant motion. Drag, I don't know, partner, we're properly in the dimensions gap, but instead we're being dragged like a rag doll. Also, please stop this, I'm getting nausea from this, said the dragon, feeling like to throw up in Issei's mind. Issei Drag, don't you dare throw up in my mind, he said, shout, but was resisting to throw up as well until then I'll be of assistance. Consider yourself lucky, Hyoudou. Issei, for the great Zelrich has come, shout an old man with a white beard and white hair, and was smiling at Issei that made our hero start to panic. Issei desperately tried anything to move or run away from such man, and Issei was told to never trust a smiling old man or else bad thing will happen, and his feeling was right on the money. Zelrich, no need to run away. I'm here to help you, while you'll be helping others and save the world from annihilation. A normal job for someone like you. Now do your best, Issei-kun, set the old man to pull out a sword and start cutting a portal. Issei Drag, someone save us. What's the last thing from both Red Dragon Emperor says when they entered the portal. Issei armor began to break apart as he yelled before griping his teeth until landed on the floor. Zelrich, by the way, your full power will be sealed. It won't be fun if we use it, but don't worry, this old man gave you the abilities that you once have in the armor, not to mention you'll be able to unlock it when desperate situations happen. And you don't have to worry, you have skills better than other Issei. Oh wait, he's not longer here. Hope you provide me entertainment, Hyoudou. Issei. Flashback ends. Issei, damn it, so we're in this situation because of an old man, and what do you mean by the annihilation of the world, and this is our job? Drag, I have no idea, partner, all this is new to us, but like I said, gather information. I'm going to rest for a little bit, said the dragon very tiredly as he laid on the ground. Issei Drag, are you good? He said to his partner, noticing how he seems to be very tired. Drag, I'm alright, partner, it's just that when we entered that portal the boosted gear went with some changes. Currently I'm going to investigate. You'll only be able to use the boost gear in the meantime. You can at least use your swords or use the emergency suitcase that your beloved left behind for you. Issei, alright Drag, take a good nap. I only use those things in case something bad happens. Tell me when you're fully recovered, he said before he went away from his mind. Roman, oh dear, he's getting drowsy. Roman reached forward, placing a hand on Issei's shoulder. The gentle touch brought Issei out his mind. I guess you need some rest. Issei nodded. I need to be calm in the situation. He needed to know what's going on, but their smiles really helped to assure him that he is safe and isn't alone. Ritsuka, Mashu and I will go to the director to report about him. It's strange that no one briefed him about Chaldea before bringing him here. That aside, something happened to him, and we need to figure out what, she said, wanting to get answers on what's going on. Roman just nodded. Go on ahead, I'll look after him. Issei's vision began to get blurred, and unable to keep his eyes open any longer. With that, he gave into the world of dreams. With Ritsuka, you said, Issei Hyoudou, no, there's no record of Chaldea enlisting such a person. Ritsuka had a frown. Then you mean he got inside Chaldea without authorization, director? Frankly, this concerns me, especially when our first major ray-shifting is about to commence. The fact that someone, even an unauthorized person, was attacked is worrying enough. Olga Marianimosphere drummed her fingers atop of her desk. She stared at her screen before sighing. You said Roman discovered he had the odd of a dragon. Ritsuka and Mashu nodded. Olga, once he recovers enough, we'll question him. Then if there is nothing suspicious, we'll test for his compatibility to become a master. Ritsuka, I'm tasking you with Issei Hyoudou since you're not involved with this ray-shifting mission. In the meanwhile, keep an eye out. I've already informed everyone of a possible threat inside Chaldea. Ritsuka understood, director, she said before turning to Mashu. Good luck out there, Mashu. Mash, thank you, senpai. As soon as Ritsuka exited the director's office, she exhaled, uncoiling the knot that wound up her stomach. The first ray-shifting mission would be a momentous start for Chaldea, a step forward for their initiative to protect humanity's future from abnormalities in the time stream. Ritsuka hoped nothing went wrong. She turned her thoughts to the mysterious boy, Issei Hyoudou. His arrival was foreboding and welcoming. The director expressed her frustrations trying to find suitable master candidates. In order to even be applicable to be a Chaldean master, they must be capable of enduring ray-shifting. She was the latest one to be recruited, but there were only 4 to 7 others. Ritsuka shook her head. Imagine that, out of all the magi in the world, only 48 were capable of becoming a candidate. Then here comes Issei, someone who has an immense amount of draconic odd. Dragons, now gone from the earth, were considered the pinnacle of phantasmal species. A human possessing the energy of one had untold magical potential. He would be the strongest master in Chaldea if he was one. Her excitement faded when she recalled his wounds. Every staff member in Chaldea had extensive background checks before they were recruited. There was little chance that someone attacked him in Chaldea. Aside from the fact that he possessed something no other human has, he popped out of nowhere. The circumstances revolving around him are just too suspicious. Whatever the case, it was her job to find out. She wished that he wasn't an enemy to Chaldea. She slid into the medical ward, only to find Roman typing away on his laptop. She glanced at the bed where Issei was supposed to be sleeping. Her heart started beating rapidly, noticing that he's gone. A shiver ran down her spine and quickly spoke to the doctor. "Ritsuka, doctor, where did he go?" she said, very panicked that he was trying to escape or something. "Roman, actually he was healing pretty fast and he asked me if he could go to the bathroom, so I told him the directions and he left. Don't worry, he'll be back in a minute." He said not to worry about it. "Ritsuka, wait, how did he heal so fast from such injuries, and did you really let him go to the bathroom without accompanying him?" She couldn't believe he healed up pretty fast. He must have some bandages. "Roman, let me ask you something. Does it feel comfortable being accompanied by a grown man to go to the bathroom?" He said, since he could understand Issei feeling it would be strange, being accompanied by another dude like a child. "Ritsuka, I'm gonna look for him and bring him back. He might not know his way back," she said, rushing to find Issei. With Issei, he came out of the bathroom. The reason why he had to go is because he didn't feel so good from his stomach. It seems being dragged around like a ragdoll, and that dimensional gap really did a number to his stomach, and also he couldn't help but have feeling to use the bathroom. "Issei, thank God I have those phoenix tears in case for emergencies. I'm slowly healing up. I had to take one before that doctor could notice," he said, beginning to walk around, but looked out in the window and saw that it was snowing. "Okay, I can't go outside. Just where are we?" Issei couldn't help but admire the view on how much snow there was. It wasn't a very big fan of the snow since he's a dragon, but the human part of him enjoys it when he used to be a kid. He began to wonder how everyone else are. He began to shake his head. His girls were tough and they'll come back. So he continued his journey back, trying to use his memory, and where the medical center was, until he accidentally bumped into a girl followed by 6 others who watched this. "Issei, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't look where I was going," he said before offering a hand to the girl who bumped into have an eye patch on her right eye. "It's fine, you should watch where you're going." She passed for a minute before noticing his injured torso. "Are you all right?" "Issei, oh, I'm all right, still hurts, but I'm healing right now," he said, showing off his smile before her companions began to speak. "Oh my Ophelia, did you have one of those love encounters I've heard about? Ask a man, or he seemed to be a man in Issei's eyes." "Ophelia, no, I didn't. Pepe besides his has to go to the medical center," said the now known Ophelia. "Issei, I was actually heading over there right now. I only left because I needed to use the bathroom," answered very calmly, watching this group seem to be wearing some kind of diving suit. "Come on, we don't have time to deal with this guy. We have to go and get ready for the race shift," said a sliver-haired guy who had the face of someone who looks tired. As the other 4 studied to agree, but one of them was staring at Issei, very curious. "Ophelia, you're right, Kadok. Let me just tell him the directions back to the medical center." That she began to explain the directions on the way back. "I hope you got everything. By the way, my name is Ophelia Famisolo and I hope we see each other again." She began to wave goodbye and follow the group. "Issei, thank you, Ophelia. The name is Issei Hyoudou. I wish we see each other again," he said, also waving goodbye. Meanwhile, the blonde-haired guy who was watching at Issei made sure to remember his name. As Issei saw them off, began to wonder, but it's going on. What do they mean by race shift? But before he could even think of anything, he was found by Ritsuka. "Ritsuka, there you are. Come on, I'll take you back to the medical center. Even though you're healed, you still have those bandages around you," she said before dragging Issei back to the medical center. "Medical center. Ritsuka, hey doctor, we're back," she said as Issei began to walk and sit down on the bed. "Roman, oh hey, you two are back," he waved with one hand as he watches Issei. His wounds are actually healing at such an astonishing rate that I would have thought he was a servant. Might be due to the draconic odd or something. At this rate, he should be good to go within a few days or so. Ritsuka had a smile. "That's great. I expected it would take longer." Roman, amazing, right, laughed, taking a sip from his coffee. He turned to see Issei sighing. "I heard from the director that Chaldea never recruited him, so how he got here is still a mystery." Ritsuka had a frown. "The director and I were hoping he could become a master." Roman, "Yes, I thought so too," he nodded. He turned around his laptop so she and Issei could see the screen. Some of them were notes on his wounds. Ritsuka winced at their severity as she glanced through them. What caught her eye was the synchronization percentage for ray shifting. "I ran the preliminary tests for ray shifting compatibility. You can see it, right?" he exclaimed. "Spiritron dive synchronization rate, over 1%. Ritsuka gawked at Roman. "Over 1%? How is that even possible even for the candidate masters? The highest we could maintain was a 9% synchronization with our spiritual self." "Roman, I'm sure you know that ray shifting involves the master projecting their spiritual form into the time stream," he stated. From that point, masters delve into the abnormal realities dubbed singularities and investigate the source of the problem. While they're in the field, Chaldea constantly monitors the masters so that their very existences do not get altered or fade away. Your synchronization rate is the foundation of the connection between Chaldea and your spiritual form. Ritsuka, thus, the higher the rate, the more stable their existence will be, and the more power they can use if necessary, she concluded. Then that means if Issei reshifts, he'll be able to utilize a lot more magical energy than any of the current masters. Meanwhile, Issei was holding his head and trying to think on what they were talking about until he gave up and lay on the bed and hearing their conversation, at least trying to get information. Author's note: can't blame him, my head would hurt if I heard a complicated math problem. Roman, that's what our theory indicates, he nodded. If he were to summon a heroic spirit, their parameters would increase by several ranks, far more than any of our current candidates. Ritsuka laid back into her chair, trying to let it all sink in. The majority of Chaldean magi were all from prominent families. The research of several generations were at their disposal. Those from Magus families had superior quality magic circuits, and they inherited ululative knowledge via magic crests. Civilian magi such as her were at a disadvantage. It was naive to think otherwise. She couldn't deny that a small part of her was envious. But there was no point to lament about unchangeable circumstances. She would push onward as she always had. She wanted to help the world with her magecraft, and there's no better place than Chaldea. So what if she couldn't supply her future servant with as much mana than the others? She would compensate with other regards. Everyone had their strengths and weaknesses, everyone had their own role to play. A groan jerked Ritsuka's attention towards the bed. Roman was already up, rushing towards Issei's side. As she walked over, Issei was struggling hard with the new information, but he realized he hasn't drank anything. Issei, water, can I have some water? He said as he hadn't drank anything. As soon as the glass was in his hand, he chugged it down, not caring if some of it dribbled out of his mouth. Roman, easy, drink slowly. You can have all the water you want, he smiled as he pouring him another one. Issei, sorry, I was just so thirsty, he laughed and wiped his mouth. He glanced around the room, browsing over the machines and equipments. So Dr. Roman Wright and Fujimaru-san. Ritsuka, yes, I'm Ritsuka Fujimaru. You can call me Ritsuka. She offered her hand to Issei. Issei, then you can call me Issei or Eyes then. So we're in a hospital, he tried to make sure. Ritsuka, you're currently in Chaldea's medical ward, she answered. Issei, you mentioned Chaldea before, he recalled. Ritsuka, that's right, Chaldea is an organization. Do you remember how you arrived here, she asked. Issei, he paused as he tried to make an excuse on how he got here. He can't say, he came from another dimension, so he best. Solution was, I actually don't remember anything. Ritsuka, what, she exclaimed as Roman consulted his laptop again. Issei, all I can remember is my name along with some other things, but on how I got her is a blank. The only thing I can recall is meeting you in Kairi. He apologized, trying to make him lie believable. Roman amnesia, he suggested. I didn't see any symptoms of a concussion, but it could be caused by other reasons. Perhaps a traumatic event could cause it. It might be related to how you were discovered. Ritsuka sighed. She didn't expect for this turn this way. His apologetic gaze dismissed any notions of lying. He seemed to be an honest person to Ritsuka. Meanwhile, Issei was trying his best poker face. Roman, as of right now, we have no idea who you are. We ran a search for your name, and nothing came up. We also have no idea how you arrived here. You practically appeared out of nowhere as the security cameras didn't see anything. Only the small hums and beeps of the various machineries can be heard for a while. Issei, then, what does it mean for me? Roman, for now, rest and recover. We'll talk to Director Animosphere about it. Roman's watch beeped as a call came in. It was Professor Lev Laner, Chaldea's chief engineer. Lev, Dr. Archaman. I see Ritsuka Fujimaru is also with you as well. We are about to begin the ray-shifting mission. Could you two come down towards the control center? Roman, I, Professor Lev. Is it necessary for us to come? All the required personnel should be there, correct? Lev, Team A is ready to go, but Team B and Under are showing slight unease due to their unfamiliarity. I'd prefer for nothing to be amiss, especially concerning the mysterious circumstances of our guest. It should take the two of you no less than 2 minutes to arrive from the medical ward, Doctor. The call ended. Ritsuka's heart pounded against her. The first mission was just moments away from starting. Her excitement dwarfed her sadness, so what if she couldn't go this time? If this was successful, it'll open the path for future missions. Roman was checked his watch before turning to Issei. Well, I'm sure Professor Lev is just being overly cautious, so we should have some time beforehand. You're probably wondering who exactly we are. There's no real point in keeping it a secret since you're here now, and there's a high chance we'll be looking to recruit you. Issei, recruit me? What exactly does Chaldea do? He began to be cautious, wondering what this organization does. Roman, in short, we're an organization of magic users seeking to protect humanity's future, he explained. Issei, magic? How, he murmured. It seems they know about magic, but protecting humanity's future. Ritsuka, you're not going to ask if magic is real or not, she asked. Magecraft was hidden from the general public after all. Issei, magic? Well, to be honest, it seems I still remember about magic, but I don't think I can use it in the moment. He said since it is true, he doesn't know magic but doesn't know if this dimension's magic is different while he glanced down on his left arm. Romanum, we did have a theory that you were a possible magus, he said. You actually qualify to become one of our candidates for missions like one you just heard about. For example, Ritsuka here is a candidate. She wasn't assigned to this mission because she just arrived before you did. Issei, is that so? Do you think I can help? I mean, maybe my memories might come back, and I'm not sure if I can use magic perfectly. Ritsuka, Issei, it's fine. I know everything must be confusing for you right now. Our first priority is your recovery. Then we'll talk about your options. Okay, just rest here now, and we'll check on you later. A rumble shook the walls as the lights went out, and all the machines died along with it. Cold sweat laced her forehead. The mission was about to start. Why are these random complications happening today? Roman, a power failure right now, he exclaimed. Chaldea shouldn't have any power outages. He stumbled towards his laptop in the midst of the darkness. Even the wireless connection is down. I can't seem to access any controls from here. Alarm startled everyone. Emergency alert fires have broken out in the central power plant and central control room. The central division bulkhead will close within 24 seconds. Ritsuka, we need to get down to control room now. Issei, it's probably safer for you to remain here, but... Issei, no. I'll help. I think I recovered enough to move. Please let me help. He leapt off the bed and began to take off the bandages around him and took a Chaldea shirt without buttoning it up, leaving him with a red shirt. There was no time to dispute otherwise. The three of them rushed outside and down the corridor. The masters, the director, Mashu, please let them be safe. They have to be safe. They must be safe. It was an eternity before they reached the main door towards the control room, and Ritsuka couldn't suppress her gasp. The entire room was in shambles. Chunks of debris littered the area like a spilled trash can. Ritsuka coughed, covering her mouth with her arm as sweat dripped down from her forehead. A sea of flames enveloped everything, dyeing the world in a wide red. The billowing smoke seared her eyes and nose. Only Chaldeas, the replica of the world used to observe the singularities, was unharmed in the midst of it all. Roman, this much destruction, a possible act of sabotage, he murmured. Ritsuka, sabotage? What would anyone stand to gain from doing this? She yelled, clenching her fists. Warning, insufficient power generation. Unable to automatically switch to reserve power supply. Personnel, please manually switch to reserve. Roman, this isn't good. We can't afford to let the light of Chaldeas go out. He started to run back outside. I'll head to the basement power plant. The two of you get to some place safe. It was only Ritsuka and Issei left in the room, but neither of them had no desire to leave. There must be something else they can do. Issei, what about survivors? He asked as he remembered the girl named Ophelia as he was scanning the room, as he didn't need to shield his eyes from the smoke. Ritsuka, we can check. There has to be some. There must be some. Ritsuka and Issei navigated through the treacherous terrain of burning debris as they descended into the middle of the room. 18 seconds left until the bulkhead closes for the central room. Ritsuka, the masters, she gasped. No, why? Her cheeks were wet and sticky at the sight of the cybernetic coffins, the ones designed to safeguard and facilitate the candidate masters during ray shifting. The people inside were unmoving as if they were undergoing funeral rites. This will not be a graveyard for them. Rayshift system transferring to the final stage. Setting coordinates January 3, 24C. Fuyuki, Japan. Masters, please prepare for the final adjustments. Issei, Ritsuka, over here, it's Mash. She needs help. He pointed to a familiar pink-haired girl with a white furry creature at her side. Ritsuka, no, please, not her. Ritsuka rushed over, stumbling over loose rocks before righting herself midway. Mashu, she knelt down, grasping the hands of her friend. It was cold as the snow outside of Chaldea. Nash, Ritsuke-senpai, Hyoudou-san. Ritsuka, it's okay, Issei and I will help you. You'll be okay, Mashu. You'll be fine, she sniffed, and willing herself to ignore the growing red pool coming from Mashu's torso. Mashu would be fine if there wasn't a giant pillar crushing the lower half of her body. We have to get this off of you somehow. Issei attempted to lift the pillar before growing from the pain. It was heated by the intense fire. Issei ignored the intense heat because he was a pure dragon, while Ritsuka was surprised that he could handle the intense heat as she tore her uniform and wrapped it around her hands. There was no time to preserve modesty. Ritsuka and Issei took their places at opposite sides, attempting to lift the pillar just enough so Mashu can move out. Mashu, no, it's too late for me. Please get to safety, please, she pleaded, but both of them refused. Ritsuka, we will never leave anyone behind, she yelled, trying again to lift the pillar. It was too heavy, too large. A glow drew her attention towards Issei, who had a red gauntlet on his left arm, as she gasped. Issei, there's no way in hell I'll leave anyone behind. Let's go. Boosted gear, he yelled as the gauntlet gem began to glow and say boost, as he begins to lift up the pillar with superhuman strength. That surprised both of them as Ritsuka was about to question it, but she focused on getting Mashu out. Attention, the condition of Chaldeas has changed. Humanity's survival on Earth for the next 1 year cannot be confirmed. The future of humanity cannot be guaranteed. Mash Chaldeas, no, she whispered, as Ritsuka followed her gaze towards the model. Her heart plummeted. Instead of a serene blue as the model was before, it was now bright orange. The world itself was engulfed in a fiery orange. Was all of their hopes were to be incinerated away here. The central bulkhead will now be sealed. The heavy doors of their entrance locked down, trapping them inside. Mashu, sorry, everyone, because of me, she apologized. Even though they finally got Mashu out, they were too late. Ritsuka, no, it's not your fault, Mashu. Never think that, she said, as Issei nodded too. They abandoned their attempts to get to the door, and settling down on opposite sides next to Mashu. Issei, at least we were able to get you out of there. We'll find a way out somehow, he reassured as he looked at his boosted gear and thought of blowing a hole on the door and get out. Scanning for qualified masters within the area. Mashu, did you know that you can't see the sky here in Chaldea? She said, getting Issei attention. Chaldea was located within the alpine tundra of the mountains, 6,000 meters above sea level after all. Ritsuka, yeah, I promised that I'll show you the sky one day, didn't I, Mashu, she said, taking one of Mashu's hand in hers. Issei, I know the sky is beautiful, it never stops being beautiful, you know, Issei smiled and, reaching out to Mashu's other hand. When you get to see it, you'll be happy. Confirmed masters within area, Designy 48 and unknown Designy. Mashu, thank you everyone. I'm glad to have met you too. Issei couldn't hold back it any longer, the feeling of being useless. Again, someone else was going to die in front of him, and he couldn't do anything. Why was he weak? What was all of his training for? The last thing Issei remembered was the flaming chunk of the roof falling downwards towards them. The corner of his eyes saw movement, as Ritsuka stood in front of him and Mashu. No, not her too. Commencing Rayshift program. Beginning Spiritron conversion. Rayshift successful. Unknown location. The last and first thing he saw was fire. He groaned as he rose on his feet, his nose crinkled, the air was intoxicated with ashes and death. This was too familiar of a smell. He stepped on the long balcony, mindful of his footing. It was just as dirty and tainted by soot as everything else in this house. Broken remnants of sliding doors and tatami mats told him that this was once a Japanese home. From there he peered outside into the backyard with caution. Issei, it almost feels like my grandparents' house, but with everything destroyed. He looked at more burning houses were torn asunder and aflamed. It was like looking at street lamps of the burning hells they carved into the night sky and dyed it malicious crimson. There was so much destruction. If this entire block was destroyed, then there was little doubt to what happened to the rest of the town. He needed to figure out what happened. He was in Chaldea. The last thing he remembered was that gigantic rock he needed to protect both of them. Then it was all a blank. Issei let out a sigh. I guess it's time for the emergency suitcase, he said while beginning to take something out from the boosted gear. It was a black suitcase as began to pop it open. To his relief, there was his emergency supplies as he pulled out a revolver with double barrel as he began to examine the bullets. Some were normal bullets, but there were others with red, blue, yellow lines around the bullet, with a symbol on the back. He nodded as he began to place his revolver in his holster, while having the bullets ready in containers. He took out at least 3 phoenix tears, leaving only 7 behind as he took out another weapon, and it was in Tetsua's grandfather's sword. As he jumped off onto the ground, a loud sound crackled into the night, his eyes snapping back and forth. He had no idea what that was. This roar, it was bestial, full of rage and wrath. The ground shuddered, and the walls trembled. Thunderous footsteps echoed throughout the street. Something huge, no gigantic, was coming. Issei instinct shouted at him. Whatever it was, he would be hostile. A cold sweat broke out on Issei's forehead as he readied himself for anything as a meteor crashed into the backyard, sending chunks of dead grass and dirt everywhere. The shed shook with the impact. Parts of what's left of the roof came tumbling down. The dust settled, revealing the horror inside. Red eyes, there was no emotion in them besides violence, anger, destruction. Issei grimaced as he saw the monster's physique. It was as if someone carved muscles out of a mountainside. A gigantic and jagged slab of stone fit inside its chiseled hand. Issei, you got to be kidding me! With before he knew it, the monster itself jumped so high in the air, causing Issei to pull out his revolver and shot it as an explosion happened when they impact, causing it to have a hole in its stomach and roll back from the ground. Note to self, blast bullets are very powerful. I have to thank Edelchen for inputting ruins into them, he said before checking his revolver. As the dirt beginning to clear, Issei saw the monster dead, but then its eye began to glow and the injury started to regenerate. It's like he came back to life, then let out another roar. Hash 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 hash, he set his eyes on Issei, and then in the burst of speed, he appeared right in front of Issei's side, prepared to swing down. But in a quick instinct, Issei jumped a step back, but then the monster took a side slash, causing Issei to duck as the monster raised his sword again for a down slash as Issei took a movement to the side. Issei, damn, you're really strong. Those moves would really kill me in one shot. He took several hits with his sword, continued to block before being flown back while holding his sword and checking on it. It really is strong as steel. Hasn't even had a scratch on it. Are you even trying? That insult caused that monster to growl. Well, then it's time to show you how strong I am. Blade steel. And what they Issei began to mimic the same speed to the monster, and they had to strike it with powerful slashes, causing the monster to be surprised. But then it took another slash, but Issei ducked and started to cut right through its skin and body, slices in half. As Issei took another step away before the same thing happened again, its eyes began to glow red and start getting even angrier. Issei, how the hell are you still standing? He said as he starts parrying the blows until he was launched up to the air by a punch that made him cough from such a blow. Damn, he doesn't just fight with a sword. He fights hand to hand before making a magic circle appear under his feet as he charges up with red light crackling around him as he jet himself toward the monster like a thunderbolt and cut his body in half. As he begins to move away and start running on the building's rooftop. That should give me some time. How the hell is he still alive though? I killed him 3 times. Hey D-Drag, wake up, he shouted to his companion from the gauntlet as a voice could be heard. D-Drag, what's wrong partner? I've been sleeping until I figured out what happened to the boosted gear. Wait, where the hell are we? Weren't we in the hospital? Said the dragon from Issei's own eyes. And he couldn't believe where the hell they are until that monster appeared again trying to chase him down. And partner, why are you fighting Hercules? Issei, good to see that you're awake buddy. I actually have some questions. Can I use the balance breaker, and what do you mean by Hercules? Don't tell me I've been fighting Hercules, he said, beginning to avoid throw debris. D-Drag, yes partner, you've been fighting Hercules, so I'll tell you what happened to the boosted gear. In the meantime, just keep avoiding his attacks, said the dragon as he begins to prepare himself for the explanation. Will partner, to start, you can't use the balance breaker. Issei, wait, are you serious? I can't use balance break? That's literally my thing, exclaimed the teen in disbelief. He can't use balance breaker. If he had, he could have possibly ended this guy easily. D-Drag, yes, but there's more. Do you remember the abilities of Triana? Explained the dragon. Issei, you're talking about Triana where I switched to bishop, knight, rook, queen, right? What about them? D-Drag, well, it seems you have the ability into the boosted gear along with another. I'll explain it to you in order. You have boost, transfer, divide, jet, impact, blaster, mana burst, penetrate. Are the only abilities you have, although I don't know what mana burst is though, so use them wisely. Issei, I see, so I have those abilities, huh? Well, those will be very useful for me right now, he said as Hercules appeared right in front of him and prepared to swing at him, but he jumped to the side. I guess it's my turn. Well, after that check-up, I secretly used the phoenix to heal myself up, and told the doctor I needed to go to the bathroom. After I was done with my business, I met 7 people with diving suits and they talked about some type of ray shifting and said about me becoming a master. I really didn't get it, but then all of a sudden someone sabotaged the ray shifting. I helped Ritsuka by lifting a pillar that was squashing Mashu, and now we're here fighting who you say is Hercules. D-Drag, that a lot to take in partner, but what do they mean by master? Is it really important? Issei, I actually have no idea. D-Drag, they seemed to be very excited and they said I had a 1% chance of being a success, not knowing much before Hercules appeared, and swinging down as Issei used Intetsu to block as Hercules continued to slam his sword down to break it, but Intetsu was holding strong. GRR, hey D-Drag, any possibility on how I can win? D-Drag, well partner, do you remember the legend of Hercules? Issei, yeah, if I remember he completed 12 labors right, he said, before Hercules raised his sword again, giving Issei the chance to dash back and listen to the next house as Hercules broke the roof and crumbled down. That should buy me a little bit more. So what about them, he said, beginning to run again. D-Drag, you have to kill him 12 times partner, his ability, God Hand, but I recommend you to switch weapons right now. You use your best element with Intetsu, which means you can't use it anymore. Issei, alright, how many times have I killed him? 3 times, damn, not enough, he said as he put Intetsu back to the boosted gear. D-Drag, it's a good thing you add your scale onto your sword since your body was made from the flesh of Great Red, which makes them more durable and powerful, but none come close to Brynhildr, said the dragon as he boosting his partner. Issei, yeah, you're right, got that Azazel the power than me. I doubt I could even cut through him. He said bring 2 swords that are a Scalon and Leviathan in each of his hands as he play his music from his phone. Insert random music. He stood there as Hercules bursted right through in front of him, swinging down, and Issei in a quick reaction blocked with both swords, pushing him back and starts using the force to push him a couple feet away. Hercules let out a roar as Issei grip his swords tightly, ready to start round 2. Issei begins to charge and striking Hercules as he blocked their clash, made sparks as Issei makes a desperate attempt on not getting killed, sometimes avoiding his strikes or blocking, until Hercules jammed his sword down to the ground, causing Issei to step on it and ready to strike, but was off guard when he used more hand-to-hand combat, only hitting the sword and knocking him a few steps away. Issei, damn, I think he doesn't see me as a weakling anymore, and now thinks I'm dangerous. Well, it's natural. I was able to cut 3 of his lives. Issei stabbed a Scalon to the ground and took out his revolver and shot 3 shots before beginning to reload as the smoke shows Hercules alright. Last bullets don't work anymore. Hercules began to run towards Issei, catching up speed and clash onto Issei, who blocked as he was being pushed back, then thrown up to the air. Damn it, boosted gear blaster. Imagine it a little bit smaller. He shouted just in time as Isis Gauntlet turned into a cannon as Hercules appeared right in front of him in the sky, then shot a dragon shot point blank. But in the recon he was thrown back to the ground. Alright, that wasn't a good idea, but hey, that's for Issei said as he got up from the ground, noticing the dead Hercules, who began to get up again. Hercules continued to strike Issei, and now holding him, who was having his swords in a cross and holding the axe sword back before Hercules kicked him back with his feet, causing Issei to start growling and making both swords start glowing as Leviathan started burning brightly and start releasing fire. Issei charged in, starting with rapid fire shots for his stomach, leaving burn marks, then a down slash that stuck to his skin before Issei started immutable fire in the inside, cutting right through while going up and using Hercules' shoulder to jet himself away. Issei, aha, I gotta beat this guy really fast. 5, which means 7 left, he said. As the Scalon begins to bright blue, this is it. Let's see if freezing slows you down. Right when he said that, Hercules came again as he blocked with Leviathan before jamming a Scalon down to his stomach before pushing right through as a burst of ice appeared from his back as he begins to pull upwards as the cut starts to burst ice from the stomach. Make that 6. Issei was getting tired as the battle was being too much. He could feel his arms losing strength, but the only reason he's alive right now is because of his battle instincts that have grown in battle time and time again. He fought the strongest enemies and he's still standing. He looked at Hercules, who had recovered from the injury. Issei put Leviathan back to the boosted gear as he held a Scalon and the sword began to glow. D-Drag partner, are you sure of using it now? Shouted to his partner, knowing that using this technique would help him but get him even more tried. Issei, D-Drag, I cannot back down from this fight, and this is the only way, trust me, he said as he began to let a scallon to glow brightly before the sword turned into a great sword around 3.5 meters long, and inscribed on the side of the sword is its name. The sword has various portions of varying thickness and angles, with sections of the blade resembling an axe, a razor and saw, with spikes and a wire positioned on it. Let go, great Escalon, he slashed as the wind blew towards Hercules as he stood there. The clash of titans has been gone. Unknown location. A woman with black armor stood waiting for the Chaldea to arrive, but suddenly she felt fear for a powerful dragon slayer power near berserker territory as she looked into that direction. What is this? Are you a servant? No, you're human. Wait, no, you're a dragon. With Ritsuka and Mashu together with Olga and Ku, but now they're following him, who said no to go where berserker is, but no, he changed his mind and now they're head towards that direction. Ritsuka, Ku, can you tell us why we're heading towards berserker when you just said that we can't? She shouted, and she was worried about Issei, who is missing and probably far away from them. Ku, I know what said, but whatever is fighting berserker is strong. I think this thing is killing him, he said, continuing to run. Mashu senpai, I have a strange feeling that what fight is close to the heroic spirit within me. It's hard to explain, she said, not understanding this strange connection. Olga, whatever it is, I believe it will be useful for us to have its help. If it can defeat a berserker, then we need all the help we can get. As the four arrived where they heard the clash of blades, Ritsuka and Mashu could not believe what they are seeing right in front of them. It was Issei fight berserker with huge buster sword and swinging it like a master against a man that looks like he was made of stone and huge. Olga, is that a servant? She asked in confusion because that person had a Chaldea uniform, as she was surprised by the amount of power. But that quickly changed into disbelief on what Ritsuka word. Ritsuka, know that Issei, she said, surprised by Issei fighting berserker in equal par. Olga, you can't be serious. That the mysterious person who arrived at Chaldea. That him? She couldn't believe what she is watching right now. Mashu, is he like me, a demi-servant? She said, thinking that might be case, but was wrong by Roman words. Roman connection, no, is not a servant, but he has the odd of a dragon, that not all his power is increased even 1 second that passed. This is incredible, he said as a mechanic was reading Issei. Everyone continued to watch the battle between titans. Back with Issei. Issei was doing everything he can to kill his 6 live before Great Escalon time limit is over, so Issei used its holy power as it began to glow a bright blue as a flash happened as the sound of Verum could be heard as everyone saw how Issei cut his body in a sideways along with cutting his axe sword in half as everyone took some steps away as he was panting and sweating. Issei, damn, now it's 5, he said as he was trying to gain his strength, but he did not notice that Ritsuka and Mashu were heading towards him, congratulating him for defeating Hercules. Ritsuka, Issei, you're alive, I'm so glad to see you. But how are you able to lift such a big sword? Mashu, that amazing, Issei-senpai. They both were impressed, but Issei had a face of panic and began to shout at them. Issei, what are you guys doing here? Get out, it's still not safe. He still has 5 lives left, but he was too late. Hercules regenerated and appeared in a flash in front of them. Even with a broken half sword, he began to start getting ready to slice them. Ritsuka, mind, I'm going to die. She was internally panicking. She was going to die. That would certainly kill her. Mashu, I won't make it in time. I can't defend that. She tried desperately to at least block the attack for her senpai and for herself. But then all of a sudden a clash happened and a yell of pain could be heard, and it was none other than Issei, who was using his left arm to block the sword, but the edge of the sword was hitting his shoulder. Everyone looked in shock on how quick Issei reacted as he yelled, pulling his left arm back ready to punch him. Issei, damn it, you're take this impact. He began to slam his fist against the stomach of Hercules, then all of a sudden something punched a hole directly towards his stomach, and blasting him away like a rag doll. As he began to hold the sword like a cane as it turned back to normal Escalon. Holy shit, I had no idea combining impact with penetrate could actually do that. Now I'm scared to use that again. He was internally panicking. What he used was a combination of impact and penetrate. Ritsuka, Issei, are you alright? She was extremely worried for Issei right shoulder. Issei, I'll be fine. I just have to hold on a little bit longer. I'll be able to kill him since I've now killed 4 of his lives. 2 lives me, and a certain archer took care of the 2 other lives, so you have to kill 2 times and he'll be dead. Issei, are you serious? That's a relief. I thought I had to kill him 4 times and I was running out of weapons. I think everything will be. He was cut off as he instantly used his sword to guard himself, but then was flown back up to the air like a base. Gah. Hua, the kid just got launched. He spoke in surprise, seeing Hercules get back up again and starting to launch the kid like a base. Then focus on Hercules, but he completely ignored them and just followed the direction on where he launched Issei. They all had a sigh of relief, but they instantly began to follow him. They couldn't leave Issei to fight alone. Meanwhile with Issei, he was currently being launched in the air as he was screaming as that force really did a number on his arm again. He could feel his arm being torn apart. Issei, damn it, I think this guy won't even stop unless I kill him. He knowing that Hercules is going to keep coming after. D-Drag, partner, get ready for impact. Wait, partner, stretch your hands. Try to grab it in time, shouted his partner as he did as instructed before feeling like he grabbed something and felt like he was being pulled back, but then he was holding something. It was none other than a chain. Issei, this is the chain. What are chains doing here? Wait, they're statues here. What the hell is this place? He said as he began to drop himself off and just look at the statues before a memory crossed his mind. Kind of reminds me of Medusa. Dreg, you're right, partner, it does feel similar. It feels like everyone was turned to stone. Issei, you know, she probably didn't do anything wrong. If I remember from the story, wasn't she technically by Poseidon, and she was the only one to receive punishment by Athena? Dreg, it's true, partner, she was cursed and then was turned into a monster. Issei, oh Dreg, you're not disgusted by her. Dreg, not technically, snakes and dragons are kind of related, so I can sort of understand. Issei, I'll see. He began to hear the roar come closer. It seems Hercules is coming. I made it through every battle that was put on my way. I've tried to overcome, but it's not enough. I need to push myself even further. I may be a failure, but I'll never be broken. He shouted towards his opponent right in front of him. As he was ready to fight Hercules until something pink rushed before his eyes. It was a pink-haired woman wearing black outfit. Her hands wielded some chains. The giant's axe were wrapped by the chains. With a struggle, she stomped her feet. She knocked Hercules away by several meters through the remains of the neighboring houses. Issei was surprised. He wasn't sure what it was about her that entranced him. Was it her strength, her wide body that would attract anyone? Was it because of the mysterious mask that was hiding her eyes, or was it her appearance? There's no doubt of it, she was beautiful. Ritsuka and Mashu were attractive, but this woman was beyond that. The blindfolded girls reminded him of a legend, as both of them had their face met each. And she asked, I ask of you, are you my master? Issei, am you what? He shouted confusedly as he stared at her without knowing a mark was starting to appear on his right hand that has the appearance of a dragon. We currently see Issei together with a woman with pink hair staring at each other. Before long, Issei took his gun out and shot Hercules' leg with some frost bullets, keeping him put, and turned to woman. Issei, what are you talking about, master? He said, not understanding what going on. Pink woman, she tilts her head to a side. You have command seals, do you not, in accordance of your summon? I have come to assist you as your servant. Issei, he begins to scratch his head. Look, I know you're not one of my peerage members, so I don't know what you're talking. Hercules, he broke free from the ice on his leg as it stared at Issei with anger as it let out a roar as crimson veins pulsated and sizzled throughout its blackened muscles. There was no sympathy or warmth in its gnarled face. Issei, you really want to kill me, huh? Bring it on, he shouted. Pink woman, an enemy, but this form? The woman frowned. Her chain rattled as she tightened them. What kind of servant has such malicious energy, master? Please retreat to a safer location. Without waiting for his reply, she dashed forward. His growl could be heard as her weapons grinded against Hercules' skin. She continued to strike at Hercules and evade his attack like an acrobatic as her chain were wrapped against him, as Hercules was suddenly pulled towards a pole as he roared where echoed like thunder. His eyes widened as he clenched around the chains and was ready to pull, but was shot on the by Issei gun as each bullet were specially designed with magic attributes. Issei, don't think she the only one. He continued to shoot Hercules as he pulled his sword Brynhildr, also known as Nephilim by the angels and fallen angels. When he held the sword, he saw a mark on his hand as he looked carefully. What are these? Pink woman, she has appeared next to him as the chains were wrapped around Hercules, who tried to free himself as she looks at the command seals. So you are my master, she said, but a roar was heard as Hercules ripped the chains around him as he looked at them, but then a bang was heard and Hercules was covered in debris as it was Issei who shot a pillar that supported the house and collapsed on him. Issei, he turned to see the pink-haired girl that should buy us some time. Now tell me, what do you mean by me being your master? Who are you, and is there any possibility that you can kill him once? Pink woman, your command seals show that you're my master, she said as she holds Issei right hand that reveals a red dragon tattoo. Who I am, you may call me Ryder in my name. Issei, if you don't want to, then don't say it. I don't want to pressure you, he said to the pink-haired woman while examining the tattoo on his hand. Ryder, no, she says, looking at Hercules, who trying to get the rumble off him. We usually keep our names secret so that enemy servants don't know our weaknesses and abilities, but in this situation it doesn't make sense to hide it. She spoke softly. Excuse my hesitation. It's just that my identity is somewhat special, she told him, remaining silent, showing a small sign of nerves about revealing who she is, thus creating a contrast with his neutral and silent behavior. I am Gorgona, also called Medusa. Issei, oh wait, are you serious now? I understand your mask. It's because of your eyes. However, to the bewilderment of Medusa, Issei took the news very calmly, unlike how she expected him to react, perhaps exalted, with fear and with caution not to see her in the face. Medusa, aren't you scared? Issei, well, I was certainly surprised to know that you are Medusa, but not to the point of being afraid of you. In fact, I think that you Ryder is the one who is afraid of herself, and that's why you wear that mask. You don't want to hurt someone with your eyes, am I wrong? Medusa, won't you call me by my name? Issei, if you want that, I will do it. However, I can assume that you want to be called as a Ryder. After finishing speaking, the two were silent, Issei with a smile and Medusa with an expression of surprise, clearly identified thanks to the fact that her mouth opened and closed, then holding her hand together. Medusa, thank you, she said, grateful from the bottom of her heart that Issei is a benevolent master who could identify her displeasure with her name. But that sweet moment was ruined by Hercules, who jumped midair to smash both, but they quickly reacted and jumped back as Hercules moved to Issei, who desperately avoid Hercules swinging while blocking it with Brynhildr as Issei remembers who Ryder, in hopes they have a connection to reach one and another. Issei, connection. Ryder, can you hear me? Medusa connection of course master. Issei connection listen up, can you perhaps turn him into stone by any chance with your eyes, he said, hoping that there a chance on killing Hercules instead of using the Excalibur fragments to release a powerful blow like a full power Longinus smasher. Medusa connection, I'll only be able to slow him down and turn him into stone, but it will take time for the ability to affect him. Issei connection, please use it, take out his second life, then I'll handle the last one. Medusa nod before clipping off her blindfold, revealing a mark on her forehead as she opens her eyes, looking at Hercules, who was frozen for a second before the petrification began to start to affect his hands slowly. Issei, who noticed it was relieved by Hercules turning into stone but noticed the effect taken time, and before anything Hercules continued to attack even if his body was turning into stone. Issei, damn, you're still not surrendering. Hercules .. He continues to fight Issei with his axe swords as their weapon clash. It can be seen how Issei was getting tried and making few mistakes that end with some cuts. Issei, mind, damn it, I'm detried, I can't keep going. D-Drag anyway on making Rider eyes stronger. D-Drag, mind, partner, you can boost her, but once you do you'll get even tired, but it's your best bet right now. Issei, mind, understood. Meanwhile, as they were fight, Medusa was supporting Issei by using her chain on restraining Hercules' movement as Issei fight him. Issei connection, Rider, come to me, I'll give you a boost to finish him. Medusa connection, understood master. Just like that, Issei used blade steel and copy his movement, then push him to use a jet boost punch to push him back a few meters as Issei went near Medusa fast like a jet with mana burst as he places a hand on Medusa's shoulder. D-Drag transfer, the voice of D-Drag surprised Medusa, but she then felt a lot of power as she understood what her master wished, so use her ability again, her mystic eye of petrification. As Hercules saw Medusa this time, his hand that was turning into stone has quickened its progress as Hercules lets out a roar as he uses all his strength to reach Issei and Medusa, but was turned into stone as the both of them move away from the charging statue. Issei finally is down to one, probably, he said while walking away from the statue as Medusa stared at the statue before after her master. But a few seconds the sound of crack were heard, they turned around and were frozen to see Hercules' eye out for the stone as her burst as stone pieces were thrown around as Hercules began to strike Medusa. In a moment as Issei saw the charging Hercules, as Issei raised Brynhildr into a position as rushed forward with mana burst, and with gritted teeth he was near Hercules before stabbing his sword towards him in a holy light that struck his left upper body. Issei, take the ha damn and tried, he said as he noticed how the darkness of Hercules' body disappeared and now was turning into light dust as he was staring at Issei as heard someone voice. Hercules, I gift you my strength, were the only thing Issei heard as the small light dust entered Brynhildr green light and absorbed them. Issei stood there until the voice of Ritsuka, Mashu, and that white-haired girl and man that looks like a wizard were going to speak to him, but Issei tipped forward and was going to fall, but Medusa caught him, having Issei head land on her ass as she gently caresses his hair. 2 hours later, Issei was having a dream. He was standing there watching Hercules cries for his family, then an image of him kill the Lernian Hydra shot a arrow 9 times that surprised Issei, and he was leaving the dream with the name of skill in his head. 9 lives shooting the 100 heads. And just like that, Issei got up from what seemed to be the floor and surprised everyone who were around him as they all calmed down when it was just Issei waking up. Issei began to look at a near mirror and noticed that his was exposed and was bandaged up as he noticed Ritsuka go over towards him. Ritsuka, it's all we can do for you, she sighed. Healing magecraft has its own limitations, so try not to overexert yourself. We don't have much supplies either, otherwise I'd do more. Olga agreed. There are not many ways on healing such wounds, she said while looking at the cuts Hercules has done. Issei, thanks, Ritsuka and miss. He rotated his shoulder. It was stiff, but it no longer pained him to move. His then look at Olga, since he has only seen her when he was fighting Hercules. Olga, the name is Olga Marie Animusphere, the director of Chaldea. It's a pleasure to meet you, Hyoudou, she said in authority tone. Issei, look at Ritsuka. Injures, can't you heal your own injuries? Ritsuka, she shook her head, gesturing to her clothes. I could, but my healing abilities are limited to the mystic coat I'm wearing. You can see it's not in the most perfect condition. Your injuries are more important than mine. Issei, he couldn't see the extent of the damage within the gloom, but he doubted that they couldn't spare one more use for her. But doesn't it hurt? Issei asked. Ritsuka, even if I said it did, what would that change? She laughed. The hollowness of it mirrored the emptiness of the hallways. Just try to not fight servants head on again. Please, I don't want anyone else hurt. Issei knew that was an impossible request, and the hypocrisy of it shone on them. He cared more about Ritsuka's injuries over his. The opposite was true for her. Too sorry to say this, but he asked to fight again. He's our best shot on the winning against her. He appeared surprising Issei, Ritsuka, Olga, and Mashu. Mashu, what makes you say that, Mr. Ku? She said curiously while Fu was on her shoulders. Too simple. This kid has a Dragon Slayer sword and it's the only weapon that could actually scratch her. Not to mention this kid has proven that he's a match against servants. Issei, sorry, but what do you mean by her? I don't understand what's going on. Olga, we are trying to resolve this singularity by either retrieving this Holy Grail or solving this problem, and from what Ku Chulainn has said, the saber has protecting the Holy Grail. Issei, I see. Wait, Ku Chulainn, aren't you the Celtic warrior with a spear? Why do you have a staff? He said, remembering reading legends about heroes. Ku, all I can say is blame the Holy Grail. I've been summoning into a caster. Issei, caster saber? Wait, we're Rider, he said, trying to look for a servant, but all of a sudden she appeared. Medusa, apologies, Master. I was surveilling the area in case for incoming enemies, she said. Issei, don't worry, that I'm just glad to see you're all right. Now then, can you guys explain to me what caster saber? I'm kind of new to all this. Olga sighed as she begins to explain the different classes and what each represents, including explaining more about servants that surprised Issei and Diedrag, who is listening to the conversation. After finishing our class course on the explanation of servants, the throne of heroes, and their main goal is to fight this saber, get the Holy Grail, and resolve the singularity. We currently have Issei and Ritsuka up in the roof watching the buildings, and we're getting ready for their next fight. Issei, I guess we're gonna fight the saber, and Olga said that the saber class is the strongest, so we're really going to have a hard fight. I guess there's no avoiding on getting injury. Ritsuka, yeah, there's no way for both of us to avoid getting hurt. Not with our mission, she sighed, and she walked towards the bar. It was one of the few that were still intact in the high school they had taken shelter in. But even so, I still wish for a way that no one has to suffer more. Maybe that's why I'm a failure as a master in Magus. Issei, but isn't that natural? He blurted, not understand what Ritsuka meant. I don't see how you could be wrong for thinking otherwise. Ritsuka, not to them. She turned to Issei, as Issei hated how brittle her smile could become. In order to advance as a magus, we have to prepare for every possibility. There could never be any progress without sacrifice. Pain and suffering means nothing in the long run. Aside from severe taboos, anything is allowed as long as magecraft is advanced. Even death. Issei, but that, Issei was sure surprised by how the magic of this world is so different. He wanted to say that it was wrong, that the ends could not always justify the usage of drastic means, but was it any different than what he had already done? He'd sought power, no matter the cost, for the sake of others. Ritsuka, perhaps magecraft was never truly meant to help people. Perhaps nothing good could come through whimsical methods, she shuddered. Perhaps that's why I am lacking. When I met the other masters, the ones who were supposed to go on this mission, I realized how much of a difference there was between them and me. They were from great lineages, with decades or even centuries of research behind their magecraft. She clenched her sleeves, the color faded from her knuckles. Who was I to compare to them? I was just an ordinary girl who didn't care about searching for the root or gaining prestige. I could barely do rudimentary magecraft, but I didn't care. All I wanted to do was to help people. I thought that if I just did my best, it wouldn't matter that I was a good magus or not. But look at us right now. Ritsuka choked back a sob. We're the only two masters left, Issei. Issei looked at his hand and remember when Dr. Roman had confirmed that the other masters were comatose due to the incident. They might not recover if Chaldea can't contact the outside world. Communications were cut off, so they had no choice but to press on with the Rayshift mission. The fact that they hadn't mentioned the status of other staff was telling enough. Ritsuka, what if the reason why Mashu can't use her noble phantasm properly is my fault? Was it because I wasn't strong enough as a master? I don't even know how to help Mashu. So how am I supposed to help save humanity like this? Ritsuka's eyes pleaded with Issei, beckoning him to say otherwise. I shouldn't have been a master, she announced, eyes downcast as she backpedaled until she hit the wall. I shouldn't be here. It should have been someone else. Someone else would have done a better job. Ritsuka's knees crumbled, and she slid down to the floor. The light shone her quivering shoulders. They were smaller than Issei had thought. He'd chased after her back ever since waking in Chaldea. He'd thought they were strong enough to endure the weight of the mission. That it would be fine if he could walk the path she took. He was wrong. No shoulders were wide enough to bear the fate of humanity's future. And he should know, since he's been carrying the supernatural all this time himself. Issei realized Ritsuka was no different than him. Just as Ritsuka expressed doubts on her abilities, he too doubted his potential. He sometimes asked himself if he was strong enough. Is all his training worth it? He had many doubts. Both of them thought it would be fine if they did something, anything to prove that they were capable. They were directionless, lost in the fog of their own insecurities. But that changed for him since the people around him started to share that burden with him. Issei walked towards her as his hand reached out, brushing aside her messy bangs, untangling loose debris from her hair. Her revealed cheeks glistened under the moonlight, yet her tears did little to wash away the traces of the battlefield. Issei grabbed a clean towel and began to scrub at her face. She didn't reject his care, but noticed how she continued to belittle herself. Issei was annoyed by that. Now I understands why Valerie did this to him. He started to pull her cheeks and brought her face towards him. Ritsuka, oh Issei, what are you? Issei, you know, Ritsuka, I don't know much about magecraft. Then again, I don't know much about anything from this, Issei chuckled, while he continued to pull her cheeks. If you think the other masters are so amazing, it's fine. But don't you think you're being too unfair on yourself? Ritsuka, that's because you haven't seen what the real magi can do, she snapped. If they were here, they would have saved more people. If they were here, they would have been better, capable. Issei, but I have seen what one magus has done, he interjected. I've seen her walk into the wreckage of burning debris without hesitation, all for the small chance that someone could be alive. Issei looked into her eyes. I've seen her rush to treat a reckless idiot without any regards to her own injuries. You're too hard on yourself. Ritsuka, there may be a lot at stake right now, but we can only do what we can. We're the only ones who can. Maybe you think yourself to be a terrible magus, but you're stronger than you think. Your path isn't wrong. Issei started to let go of her cheeks and hold her hands with both of his. We're in the same boat. You know it's going to be a long journey, but no one said you had to do it alone, right, Ritsuka? Ritsuka sniffed, blinking back tears. He didn't need to hear a reply. He knew it when the light in her eyes brightened the room. Issei was settling his equipment onto the school cafeteria. Olga was already there, one finger tapping a rhythm atop the table. Ritsuka joined him on the opposite side, while Medusa took her place standing behind him. Olga all finished then, Fujimura, Hyoudou, she asked, one hand brushing aside a lock of her silver hair. Ritsuka, yeah, director. Where's Mashu? She looked around the cafeteria until the door to the back room opened. Mashu carried out a tray with several cups of ramen and a pot to boil water. Mashu, this was all I could find back there. Her gauntlets clinked together as she folded her hands together and bowed slightly. Issei smiled at her humility, thankful that she was better than before, though he doubted he could forget her stained visage. Ritsuka had told him that she was a demi-servant, a person who took in the powers of a heroic spirit into their body. As a result of her contract, her body healed, and she became the Shielder servant when they were separated during the race-shifting. Ritsuka's earlier remarks hinted that both her and Mashu were unable to unlock Mashu's full power, but her health was all they could ask for. Though, one part of him was grateful for Mashu dressed and wondered if that heroic spirit liked the way it designed her outfit. A certain gal ahead started to get annoyed. Issei, no worries. He waved off her apologies and grabbed a cup. He needed to distract his mind. Again, this is the perfect food for a late-night snack. Remember Valerie loved for ramen. Ritsuka, well, you're not wrong, she said, shaking her head at his gusto. We don't have electricity, how are we going to heat the water? Olga scoffed while she raised her finger, drawing a rune at the bottom of the pot. It glowed red and then the water inside boiled. Mashu, thanks, director. She began passing chopsticks to everyone, including Medusa. Ryderson, would you like to eat as well? Medusa servants do not require subsistence to sustain themselves, Medusa said before receiving hers. However, I sure my master wishes for me to join all of you. Thank you, Miss Kyrillite. Medusa looked at Issei, who nodded, and a smile was traced on her lips. Kuo, if Ryder's getting one too, then pass me one, little lady. A blue circle, inlaid with runes similar to the one Olga drew, expanded on the floor. Castor materialized from it, brushing aside dirt from his fur shawl. Olga, Castor, she pinched the bridge of her nose as she sat her cup down. I assume you managed to mislead the two servants. Ku took a while, but they decided to retreat instead of pursuing, Castor said. He stirred the noodles before swallowing them in a single bite. Ritsuka, retreat where? Ku, probably where Saber is, Castor drawled. She knows that there's no real point to chase us when we need to come to her. Issei, so this Saber is like a final boss. He sat up, continuing to slurp at his food. Ku, right. Castor's red eyes sought him out. You've probably been informed about the remaining servants left in this city. I suppose you already met 2 of the 3. But we're lucky that you took care of Berserker. Issei, so what's their objective? He was only given the barest information on what was happening in this singularity. There was a war waged with servants in this city, and they needed to find out what went wrong to fix the timeline. To the site of Fayuki's Greater Grail is where the final boss will be. Castor glanced over towards Medusa. It'll be where the enemy Saber is. The other servants shouldn't matter as long as we defeat her, but you can bet your ass that they'll be there now. Olga, do we know their true identities? Ku, I don't know who the archer servant is. Not a single damn clue about what kind of a hero has so many swords and still be considered an archer. The berserker servant, well, the kid said he was Hercules but is already out of the picture. Even the enemy Saber had trouble dealing with him. Castor scowled as he pointed to Issei. Boy, you are a lucky man to survive and defeat. That guy be glad that Hercules lost that ridiculous noble phantasm of his when he got corrupted by the Grail, else you wouldn't have even scratched his skin. Issei, what, he was surprised and almost dropped his wooden chopsticks. Mashu, but Hyoudou-senpai used a skeleton and that other sword on him, she exclaimed. Ku, still the kid was lucky. The Greeks' most famous hero, Hercules. Castor snorted. His famed legend of completing 12 labors gave him a ridiculous noble phantasm that granted him several lives, but that kid just cut all of them down with pure luck. He could have died at any moment, not to mention how freaking strong he was. Olga, this just gets even better and better, but we should be glad that Hyoudou took care of him, Olga muttered. Who's the final servant? Ku, there's no way anyone could have mistaken the holy light from her sword, even if it's corrupted and tainted by the Grail, Castor began, and the funny thing is that you actually have a sword, similar to hers, a holy sword, kid. Issei, wait, you could feel that he turned to Castor. Medusa, I see now. That's why I had a feeling that I fought this enemy before when I first sensed her. Medusa's voice was calm, yet the way she gazed the wall she was remembering something. The enemy Saber is a servant I fought. Ku, so you two fought, how well, in good faith. I'll tell you her true name. Castor nodded. The enemy is none other than the wielder of Excalibur, King Arthur Pendragon. 1 hour later, after receiving the name of their upcoming enemy who would be Arthur and Lefay ancestor, the true King Arthur, Issei was starting his preparations while holding his revolver and adding additional bullets while sheathing a scallon and Brynhilder. As he finished his preparations, he asked Castor about Mana Burst, and with a small knowledge of how it works, he waited for everyone else to get ready. Now they walked through the broken streets of Fayuki. Castor had told them that the Holy Grail War changed midway. Something had caused the incineration of every human living here in Fayuki, leaving behind only servants, and the enemy Saber had defeated and taken control of them. Castor and Saber were the only 2 remaining in the war, with Archer left as her thralls. The rest were defeated earlier by Castor and Mashu. Issei was prepared the moment they encountered the walking undead. when Issei heard the clamoring of their bony feet against gravel as he shot a dragon shot to destroy their number and rush forward. This surprised everyone, but they all followed his lead. Ritsuka looked at Issei back and noticed how big it is. Meanwhile, Issei took this chance to check up on everyone. He started with Olga, who leaned over with her arms on her knees, heaving in and out. Stray strands of hair glued themselves onto her forehead before she dabbed her sweat away with a handkerchief. Ritsuka was by her side, dirt and ashes and sweat adorning her clothes as equally as they did with Olga. She clutched her empty bottle, fingers playing to the cap, twisting it off and on before she caught his gaze. She offered a simple smile, one not large enough to hide her sorrow, but just enough to tell him not to worry. Issei nodded to her before turning his attention towards the last two. Rather than resting, Medusa and Mashu vigiled the perimeter. He then took a look at Mashu. Her eyes darted back and forth, fingers wrapped around her shield, unwilling to miss any signs of activity. Issei knew she was a servant now, but it wasn't that simple. He couldn't forget that moment in the wreckage when he had to convince himself that her injury wasn't fatal or that it was not her that had seeped into his souls. He dreaded the way the warmth in her hands furred, his tightening grip the only kindling he could offer. He hated that he had to choose to let her go in order to protect another. Issei Rider, Mashu, he called as they approached him. Medusa gazed at him. Master, Mashu Hyoudou-senpai, Mashu exclaimed. Issei, you can just call me Issei, Mashu, he laughed. Though, shouldn't I be the one calling you senpai after all? I'm the newest one here. Mashu, no, it's not like that. Issei-senpai, she stuttered and rested a hand on her, taking deep breaths. I consider you and Ritsuke-senpai my senior in terms of living. Issei, he raised an eyebrow. Living. Mashu, you see, I was born in Chaldea. All of my life, I spent inside of it, with only pictures and videos to show me the outside world, she explained. Issei, is that why you wish to see the sky? He murmured to himself before he asked. You've been in Chaldea for how long? Mashu, I'm 16 now, senpai. A wistful smile painted over her face. My entire life was all about Chaldea's mission. I never had a chance to think why. When I met Ritsuke-senpai, she was unlike everyone else. Not that they were bad people, but she had such a different mindset than they did. She didn't care about status or power, she just wanted to help everyone. I thought it was an earnest way to live. She felt more human than anyone I had met. Issei, I can understand that. I don't think Ritsuka gives herself enough credit, he said, but, compared to her, I don't think I've really done enough. Mashu, no, that's not true. You definitely remind me of her, Issei-senpai, she exclaimed. When I saw you fight Berserker, I had wondered what gave you the courage to stand against him. Issei, he scratched his cheek. I wouldn't say that was courage. Medusa, perhaps it would be more apt to say foolishness instead, she added. Mashu, perhaps, but I was amazed. You had no memories, no obligations, nor any power, she murmured, but you chose to fight rather than run away. It made me question myself. How do humans continue to fight even if the odds stand against them? Normally her bangs covered the left side of her face, but this time, he saw both of her eyes. They were windows to a brilliant violet sea, ravaged by storm and thunder. Issei felt that she had voyaged for a clear sky for her entire life. Issei, you know, it has been overwhelming. Waking up in Chaldea and coming to Fayuki, I'm not sure where to even begin, he admitted. A part of me wants to shout out. Why did I come here? Why did Chaldea get attacked? Why did Fayuki get destroyed? Can I do anything? Why am I even here? He changed his expression into a smile. Maybe there are reasons, maybe not. But that is life. I don't know everything. I can't do everything. But I'm not alone. We're not alone. Even if the world itself is against us, we can help each other. We fight because we want to see another day again. He remembers Team DXD because our time is as limited as humans. We have to make do with what we have together, Mashu concluded, the tension easing from her shoulders. Exactly. I would rather do something than to regret not doing anything, Issei said. He glanced back and found Ritsuka and Olga run towards them. Because I doubt anyone knows when time will run out. It was nauseating, everyone thought, as they stood at the entrance of the cave. Ritsuka, it sure feels like this is definitely the place, she quivered, rolling her shoulders as if she wanted to shrug something off. The mana concentration here is ridiculous. Mashu, she traced the edge of the entrance with a finger. It looks like a natural cave, but as Fayuki always had such a sight. Olga, this isn't a full natural one. It looks like a magus once took over it and built their workshop deeper and deeper inside, she concluded after her inspection. They had probably wanted to tap into Fayuki's ley line. Medusa and Ku shifted to the back of the group as Issei heard footsteps from a cliff behind them. Ku, looks like the Guardian came to greet us personally, Castor snarked, leaning on his staff. A man, hair whiter than snow, peered down from atop the cliff. Red lines, reminiscent of what Issei had seen on the Berserker, crept up from his neck to one side on his face. Medusa, the archer servant, rider, frowned and tightened her grip on her chains. Archer, I don't recall ever calling myself a guardian, but at the very least, I can take care of intruders, Archer said, rolling his eyes. He kept his hands open, but Issei didn't see any weapons on him. Kuso, you're on gatekeeping duty. That sounds a bit boring. Why let us keep you company for a bit, Archer? Castor grinned and raised his hands, framing them with blue energy. Archer, emotes of light rushed into Archer's hands, materializing into a bow and sword. As soon as he notched the sword, it twisted and transformed into an arrow. I don't have that much free time, he said and took aim, releasing the string. Mashu rushed in front of the group as Issei pulled out his revolver and attempted to stop the sword. However, just a few feet before the arrow reached them, he shouted. A flame sprang from the arrow, twisted around it, and incinerated it into ashes. Don't say such sad things, Archer. What's the rush unless you have no confidence in taking me on? Castor taunted, writing glowing runes onto the air. His arm slashed forth, and the runes transformed into fire and shot forward, converging and exploding at Archer's location. Black smoke billowed as upturned chunks of dirt and rock flew off the ledge. Archer jumped backward, out of the smoke, clothes not touched by the debris. His mouth tightened, his eyes focused. He readied another sword and aimed again. Go now deal with Saber. Me and Ryder got this, Castor urged as he barreled past Mashu. Medusa, be careful out there, master, and make sure not to get yourself hurt, Issei nodded as he told her to go all out. This is what they had agreed to do earlier, but running deeper into the cave and leaving Castor and Ryder to fight left Issei conflicted. Castor was blunt at times, but Issei didn't mind it. Issei could say it was nostalgic, having someone that he could banter with in the brief time they were together. There were no traps impeding their descent. The moonlight didn't reach deep enough, but there was an eerie, violet light that illuminated the path forward. When they reached the opening that the road led to, all of them could only stand in horror at what they saw and felt. Ritsuka, what is it? She asked, turning her head upwards. Issei couldn't answer. The path had opened up into a large span of space, riddled with the bones of countless humans, and a gigantic hill towered over them in the middle of it. It didn't seem like it was composed of actual earth, rather it was some sort of wretched black mud. The violet light emanated at the zenith, radiating out like a sun rising from the horizon. Olga, she frowned, cupping her chin as she scanned around. Is this a Magecraft reactor core? Is this what a holy grail is? Oh ho, a familiar voice called out. I see two interesting servants and their little masters and dragon walking into this den of lions. A girl with the most intriguing shield and someone I had never thought I would face. But I wonder. Issei couldn't help but gaze at the woman who stood at the peak. Just like any woman, she too possessed beauty, but it was cruel rather than captivating. Her skin was pale, untouched snow, and her eyes were just as frigid and desolate, rather than the gentle green. A dense aura, just as black as her armor and dress, coursed through her entire body. Issei grimaced. He recognized it as a form of mana burst. But what he feared most was the dark holy sword that she held in her right hand. He didn't know if that was Excalibur since he doesn't know what it looked like, but Issei wondered if it was correct to still call it holy when so much evil seeped from the edge. It was unlike the time he had observed Zenovia's ex-Durandal. It demanded his attention. He felt repulsed by its corruption, yet it still captivated him. This black saber was an exact opposite he thought of King Arthur. Arthur, she looked at Mash and widened her eyes, feeling her spirit origin. It was the shield of the youngest knight of all, son of his best knight. She asked in a stern voice, You who carry this shield, are you prepared to assume the responsibilities it represents? She didn't hear a word, so she burst forward. Mashu nodded to her as she walked forward. Arthur leapt from the hill and cracked the earth with her landing. Arthur, now then, girl, is your will to protect stronger than my sword? She ran forward as Mashu raised her shield to block the strike. Purple sparks scattered across the surface and Mashu struggled to parry each of her blows. Her knees buckled each time, arms left shuddering. Unlike other servants, the enemy saber used her mana burst without restraint. Black mana coalesced into her Excalibur so much that it was no longer steel that she wielded, but pure darkness instead. Each attack left Mashu struggling to recover, and the onslaught increased in ferocity. Olga had conjured a barrier to protect them stray debris and mana, but it shuddered from the sheer wind pressure of Saber's swings. Issei wasn't sure how much more Mashu could endure when he could feel the force of Saber's attacks from this far. They had to go on the attack now. Arthur, what's wrong? You cannot protect anything if you do not have the will to press forward, Saber snarled. She swung upwards and smashed Mashu into the air. She lost her grip on her shield, falling onto her face, but she lifted her chin even if her limbs couldn't muster enough strength to get onto her knees. Arthur, if you cannot get up, then this can only be a mercy for you, Saber murmured. She walked up to Mashu, raising her sword above her head. Issei ran, gathering mana into his legs and letting it explode outwards. The usage of mana burst was instinctual, as if he had used this technique for years. Saber swung down with both arms to behead Mashu, but she struck only dirt. Her eyes narrowed, growling with anger as Mashu had teleported backwards from her position thanks to Ritsuka's mystic code. She took a step forward to continue her assault, but Issei had already placed himself in his path. Issei called forth his sword and let the mana flow into the blade. Saber's eyes widened as she raised Excalibur to catch Ascalon, crossing their weapons, and he shouted, Let's see what you can do, King of Knights Ascalon. Waves of gold erupted from Ascalon, bathing both Issei and Saber in light. The power rippled forward, gouged the ground, and enveloped Saber's entire body. It continued onward until it collided with the hillside. Dust and smoke billowed from the aftermath. Issei, did that get her? He looked around. Ritsuka rushed towards Mashu with a green glow outlining her mystic code this time. A sudden gale of wind cleared the smoke and turned his attention back towards the hillside. Arthur, to think that you would even possess a dragon slayer's noble phantasm. I see that my thought of you weren't wrong. You are extremely dangerous. Saber pulled herself out from the crater in the hillside. Her entire armor was cracked, and a faint trail ran down the side of her lips. She wiped it off her free hand. But I can tell you are holding back. Let me show you the proper way to utilize your full power. Before Issei could even respond, Saber poured mana into her sword, and the torrent of black light condensed into the shape of a dragon's head. It opened its maw wide and sprung forward, seeking to consume Issei whole. Issei switched his sword as tried to gather all his power towards Brynhildr. Mashu, sorry, I'm here now. Issei-senpai. She grounded her shield in front of Issei, protecting him from the body of the attack. The ground around them cracked as black flames ate the sides of her shield. Issei, that was close. Thanks, Mashu, he sighed but didn't release the power of Brynhildr. Mashu, no. She shook her head. It's the least I can do after my terrible performance as a servant. Arthur, so you managed to avoid that. Then here's your final test. Can you endure this? Saber raised her sword upwards. Black light eclipsed the violet glow, engulfing the very airspace above them. Issei was surprised as Event tightened his grip on the sword. Mashu, that isn't good. Issei-senpai, get behind my shield, she cried. Arthur, Excalibur Morgan, she roared. A tsunami of black light engulfed the entirety of Mashu's shield. The torrent gushed around them, and he could see nothing but darkness. Mashu's knees faltered, her greaves snapped backwards by the force. Her grip on her shield's handle slackened, almost dropping it until another hand covered and supported hers. Ritsuka, don't give up, I'm here for you, Mashu, she said, smiling. We're here for you. You're not alone, I believe in you. Mashu, that's right, we fight so we can see another day together, Mashu murmured, the vigor slowly returning into her legs. Please watch me, Master. Her shield resonated with her will. White light pulsated throughout the surface, eating away at the darkness, and bricks projected from it, forming the foundations of a giant wall. It was a bastion against evil. Ah, Mashu yelled as she began to push back Excalibur Morgan's light. Arthur, the shield finally awakens, Saber murmured as her attack could no longer flow past Mashu's wall. It bubbled up at the center, and Mashu rammed it back at Saber. There was nothing to impede the flood on Saber's side. It submerged her and scoured the ground, leaving nothing but a shallow crevasse in front of them. Smoke from the aftermath obscured their vision, but it subsided quickly. Mashu fell to her knees, barely able to keep her shield upright. Fractures riddled the white wall of her noble phantasm. Ritsuka, Mashu, she wrapped her arms around Mashu's waist, hugging her close. Mashu, I'm okay, but, she wheezed, the fight isn't over yet. Arthur stood ready to use noble phantasm again with slitted eyes, dripping from her scowl. Her armor was shattered, gaps revealing black garments beneath. Excalibur Morgan, she roared. A second tsunami of black light came towards them. But Issei stood in front of them, having Brynhildr held in position as a green glow engulfed the sword as everyone was watching in surprise as they heard his words. Issei, I guess no holding back anymore. Brynhildr seal off. All of a sudden the green glow turned into yellow up bright light as the sword changed form. As a female voice spoke from the sword, Brynhildr approved. Nephilim on the light exploded around the sword. As the earth trembled on the might of the dragon as Issei green eyes gazed at Arthur. Issei, let's finish this. Excalibur Nephilim, a roar of a dragon along with the light. As Issei finally sees her down and sees her sword meters away, he rested upon Nephilim as someone appeared. He came down next to them as Ritsuka, Olga, and Mashu were looking at Issei with amazement. I see that you weren't normal at all and finished the battle as well. You all did well lasting this long. Issei noticed he was no longer wearing his coat. Castor's was bare, his muscles ass with sweat and smudged with dirt. Medusa, she also landed next to them. Parts of her clothes were scratched, but Issei couldn't see any major injuries. She frowned. Master, I'm glad to see you all right. Issei, I'm glad to see you're all right too. You had a lot to deal with, Issei said, nodding at Mashu. Mashu was able to use her noble phantasm to protect us. Ritsuka, you did a good job, Mashu. I'm so glad, she sniffed. Arthur, victory to the power that protects, just like that innocent youth back then, the saber spoke. She closed her eyes and smiled. Ultimately, no matter how fate changes, I face the same end when I'm alone. Her leg furred into transparency, and her foot began to dissolve into a drizzle of golden light. It developed into a heavy rain as it stormed towards her torso, wiping away everything in its path. What are you talking about? Do you know something? Castor asked. Arthur, eventually you will come to know, Ireland's child of light. Your trials are not over. The Grand Order, is it the battle for the Holy Grails has only begun, Saber murmured as her entire body faded away. Ku started to yell, Hey, wait, what did you mean by that? He glanced down, noticing that his own legs were also fading into sparks. I see, with the defeat of Saber, the war is over then, and I have no more purpose here. Mashu Casterson, thank you very much, she bowed. Ku tch, it's nothing. He shouldered his staff and smirked. Well, I'll leave it all up to you to clean up. If there's a next time, summon me as a lancer instead. Issei watched as the last of the sparkles danced into the air. Issei knew servants weren't human, but to see Castor disappear suddenly saddened him. Even if they had summoned him, could he be considered the same person if he didn't have the memories of this version? Issei glanced at Medusa, unsure what would happen when the time comes and she had to leave. Mashu, there's no longer a signature for the enemy Saber and Castor. She looked around. Did we win? Ritsuka, this war should be the source of the singularity, she said. Concluding it should have solved everything, Ritsuka's communicator rang. Roman, well done, everyone, Dr. Roman exclaimed through the device. I can't get a visual down there, but I'm sure you all are happy, Director. Looks like we don't have to worry about the Fayuki singularity. Issei and the others turned to Olga, but she wasn't smiling. Olga, the Grand Order, she whispered. How did that servant know that name? Ritsuka, what's wrong, Director? She asked. Olga, no, it's nothing. She shook her head and smiled. Well done, Mashu, Fujimaru, Hyoudou, and Ryder. Mashu, no matter your inexperience as a servant, your own will was capable of activating your noble phantasm. Keep at it, and you'll be able to unlock its true name. Mashu, yes thank you, Director, she exclaimed. Olga, Fujimaru, and Hyoudou, you both also proved yourselves on the battlefield. Utilizing whatever you possess to your advantage is a sign of a good master, she praised. Ritsuka clapped her hand with Mashu in a high five, while Medusa's gaze at her master as he walked towards Olga. Issei, thank you, Director. Without you we wouldn't have survived, he had a smile. Olga, hush, she was surprised by Issei's kindness. Issei, after getting to Fuyuki, you were the one leading us in the right direction. If you weren't there, Director, we wouldn't have made it this far. After saying that, Olga was hiding her face with her sleeve while having tears on her eyes. Olga, you too, this surprised Issei. But not Drake, who was relaxed and saying he still got it as Olga continued. Despite being an ordinary person who knows nothing, you were of assistance. Issei smiled while she held a hand towards him. I acknowledge you, Hyoudou. No, Issei, as the director of Chaldea, I acknowledge your accomplishments. Issei, he was surprised and happy that someone acknowledged his accomplishments. Not even Rias once acknowledged any of the things he did for her, so in response he smiled brightly and said thank Olga before their hands could reach. A clap was heard, it echoing around the cave. Issei glanced around to check who was clapping, only to find the group bewildered and on their feet. More claps came, allowing Issei to pinpoint it towards the peak. A man, dressed in a green fur coat, kept clapping, but there was no enthusiasm in it. Lev, I never thought you would all get this far. This is an unforeseen element of the project that goes beyond what my tolerance allows. The commanding and snide tone was familiar to Issei, but he focuses attention on him. Ritsuka, wait, she gaped. Nashu, Professor Lev, she ended. Roman, wait, you all said Professor Lev, he asked from the communication. Olga, Lev, she called out, blinking back tears but failing. Her tears drenched her smile as she ran towards the professor, forgetting everything around her. Thank goodness, you're still alive. Without you, I don't know what I would. Lev, hello Olga. Looks like you had a rough time, too, he commented, returning back a smile with no teeth. Olga, yes, that's exactly right, Lev, with all of the unexpected events, I thought I would go crazy. Olga nodded, rubbing away her tears. But now that you're here, we'll get through it somehow, won't we? Lev, of course. I'm just so furious with all these unexpected events, he agreed, turning his scowl towards Ritsuka. Romani, I thought I told you to come to the control room immediately. Roman, Lev, he muttered. Lev, he turned to Olga, shaking his head, and sighed. And you, Olga, I planted the bomb right under your feet. I can't believe you're still alive. Olga paused, confusion written over her face. Issei gaped as a part of him hoped Lev was joking, that he had a terrible sense of humor. The other part of him was readying a dragon shot while grasped on the hilt of Nephilim. If it wasn't a joke, then there was only one alternative. Lev, well, not exactly alive. In fact, you're dead, he sneered, his canines gleaming. Your physical body, anyway. Olga backpedaled, while Issei frowned. He had no idea what Lev was talking about. Olga didn't have any injuries, nor was she even hindered by anything during their ascent to the cave. Lev, when you were alive, you didn't have the aptitude for ray-shifting. You couldn't make the transfer when you had a body, he explained, fingering the rim of his hat, but you had such an earnest desire for it, you actually obtained the aptitude as you died. Olga, that's a lie, she cried with her legs trembling. She hugged her body, unable to quell her tremors. Lev, that's why, the moment you all return to Chaldea, your consciousness will cease to exist. Olga, I will cease, she choked, to exist. Lev, but that's too miserable to contemplate, he snarked. You dedicated your life to Chaldea, so the least I can do is show you what's going on. He raised his hand, and a golden cup erupted from the hill and hovered around his palm. He grasped it, fingers barely able to wrap the stem before it submerged into his hand. A golden hue emanated from his hand before it scurried up his arm and framed his entire body. Lev snapped his fingers, a visible distortion slashed across the middle of the sky. It split apart, opening wide into a perfect circle, and revealed what appeared to be a room filled with debris. In the middle of the room, a familiar sphere oscillated and bathed them in red light. Olga, that can't real, she shook her head, glancing back and forth between the sphere and Lev. That has to be a virtual image, right, Lev? Lev, it's the real thing. I linked space-time together for you. You see, with the Holy Grail, even this is possible. So take a good look, heir of the Animosphere family. This is the fate of your family's madness, he said as he pointed towards Olga. Golden light similar to the Holy Grail wrapped around Olga's frame as she hovered into the air. Issei, Ritsuka, Director, they shouted as they rushed after her, but Mashu and Medusa held both of their arms back. Mashu, don't go, Mashu pleaded, while Medusa shook her head. Issei couldn't understand why they were refusing to help. Olga, hey, what are you doing? Olga screamed. She kicked her legs and flailed her arms, but to no avail. Lev, as this is the end, I'll make your wish come true. You may touch your treasure. He laughed, gesturing towards the globe. Olga, no, what are you talking about? Please stop it. That's Chaldas, she whimpered. Lev, yes, it's no different than a black hole or perhaps a sun. He shrugged. Either way, if a human touches it, they will be split apart on a molecular level. You will experience living infinite death. Olga, no, somebody help me, Olga shrieked. Her eyes latched onto Issei's. It was the first time he saw Olga begging. No longer was she the director, but only just a girl who wanted to live. Ritsuka no Olga, she sobbed, falling to her knees, and hands. Tears had painted her cheeks with a gloss thick enough to reflect the burning light of Chaldeas. The moment Olga collided with Chaldeas, a hand reached over and grabbed her hand. It was Issei who held tight, having the boosted gear activate. Issei, leave everything to me. They call me the man that made the impossible possible. D-Drag, do it, he shouted in the top of his lungs. D-Drag transfer. A loud, booming voice was heard as the green boosted gear gem glowed and absorbing the golden particles that Olga's soul released while her body was burning swallowed her, fraying and scourging away her skin, muscles, and her bone. Her body was gone. Issei, I got her, Issei said, as he turned around and ready to dragon shot at Lev. Medusa, master, that was reckless of you. We cannot confront this being here, she said. Mashu, that's right, he's too dangerous. Issei-senpai. She ran forward and grounded her shield in front of them. Lev, as expected of the servant and demi-servant. You can both tell that I am a fundamentally different creature, couldn't you? He clapped again. Issei wanted to calm down. Ever since becoming a dragon, he's become even more emotional as he pointed his fist towards Lev. He wanted to wipe away that smirk off of Lev's face, wanted Lev to feel the same feeling of helplessness, wanted him to suffer unending pain just as they did, but he knew he can't afford to be reckless against someone that Medusa and Mashu were apprehensive about. It frustrated him. Lev, the 48th master and the unknown 49th master. I had turned a blind eye to both of you because I had thought you both held no promise. Why do humans always want to avoid the course of fate that is chosen for them? He sighed before brushing his clothes and bowed. Then I will introduce myself once more. I am Lev Laner Floros. I am the charge of 2016, tasked to dispose of your human race. Are you listening, Dr. Roman? Roman Lev, he discussed buzz through. Lev, as fellow students who studied magic together, I will give you one final advice. The future has not disappeared. It's been incinerated. Chaldea is probably protected by the magnetic field of Chaldeas, but I'm sure the outside world is facing the same fate as Fayuki. Roman, then the reason we aren't able to make contact with the outside isn't because the communications are down, but because there's no one outside to receive them, he concluded. Lev, you will not perish from being a dead-end evolution, nor will you not be destroyed after engaging in a war with different races. Rather, your own meaningless and incompetence will be your end. You have lost the favor of our king, and thus you will burn away like useless trash, he shouted, but all of a sudden he was hit by Issei dragon shot. Issei, I had enough of your yapping. Eat that, and the next time we meet I'll give you some more, he said angrily at point at Lev. The earth trembled, and they all struggled to maintain their footing. Ritsuka, an earthquake or this because of you, Issei, she asked, raising both of her arms for balance. Mashu shook her head. No, this is something else. Rocks fell from the top of the cave while the ground was torn asunder from the shaking. Lev, this singularity has also reached its limit, said a hurt Lev who was in a crater. The accursed saber caused me unnecessary trouble, trying to maintain this time period even while being awarded the Holy Grail. As Lev faded into thin air, and so, farewell, Romani, Mash, Ryder and the Ritsuka and Irregular, leaving them to deal with the falling debris and cracks in the earth. Mashu, the cave is collapsing. No, the very space of this singularity is, she said, covering them from falling rubble with her shield. Ritsuka, she brought her communicator towards her mouth. Doctor, it's time to reshift us all back. Roman, I got it, however, I'm sorry it might collapse around you first anyway, he exclaimed, but communications got cut off. Ritsuka, doctor, she shouted and shook her head at the dimming light of her communicator. The ground they were all standing upon cracked open and launched all of them into the air. Issei, everyone, Issei yelled, trying to reach for their hands. He managed to grab onto Ritsuka and Medusa, while Ritsuka grabbed onto Mashu. Then, everything turned black, and he knew no more. Issei snapped his eyes open as he tried to grab for air. He found himself looking down at his hand, tracing the red lines of the tattoo that denoted him as a master. He realized he was in Chaldea's infirmary. He wasn't sure it was a good thing that he kept waking up here. The warm bedding and soft pillows did nothing to comfort him. They gained the singularity but lost Olga. He gripped his hand, nails digging into his palm. Fukyu. Issei looked around and saw Fu sitting on a chair. He fed his fluffy ears, in his head, and looked into Issei's eyes. The thought of this little animal looking at him slightly tugged at his lips. The door opened and then Ritsuka walked in, noticing that he was awake. Dr. Romani arrived accompanied by Mashu, making the couple look at them. Issei paused as he took in Mashu's appearance. She was no longer wearing armor or carrying her shield and was instead in a simple black dress and jacket. He mused to himself why she would need to wear glasses. Mashu, good morning, Issei-senpai, she carrying Fu in her arms. Ritsuka, glad to see you're all right, she called out as she walked near Mashu. Medusa, good morning as well, master, she said, going behind Issei. Issei, he was glad everyone was here and that they were safe. Good morning, everyone. Roman, looks like we're all assembled then, he said as he stood up from where he was sitting. Congratulations and thank you to you both, Ritsuka Fujimaru and Issei Hyoudou. Without your efforts, Chaldea would have been destroyed. Ritsuka, but, she swallowed, what about the director? Roman, unfortunately, nothing can be done. He shook his head, closing his eyes. Because of your actions, the Fayuki singularity has disappeared. However, Roman pointed to Chaldeas. The model of Earth was still burning red, except now there were 7 bright lights around the globe. Roman, 7 new singularities have been discovered. They're space-time disturbances that Fayuki can't even compare to. We will have to reshift to each of these singularities to resolve them and return history back to normal. That's the only way we can save the human race in the future. Roman walked towards the remains of a pod-like structure and laid his hand upon it. Aside from you two, all the other masters are left in cryogenic preservation until they can be healed. Mashu and Medusa are the only servants we have. Under these circumstances, we have no choice. Roman inhaled as he faced Issei and Ritsuka. The 48th Master Ritsuka Fujimaru and 49th Master Issei Hyoudou. Are you and your servants prepared to shoulder the responsibility of humanity's future? Issei glanced at Ritsuka, gazing into her eyes. They were swollen from tears but bright with resolve. Both of them already knew the answer. Issei, Ritsuka, together, will fight for it. The future is ours to take back. Roman, and so it will be. This is the Grand Order, Roman declared. Under the directions of our late director Olga Marianomosphere, we will preserve humanity. Our goal is to protect and recover human history. Our goal is the search for the sacred artifact in each of the singularities that seeks to be the cause of everything. Our enemy is history itself. Many heroic spirits, all of them legends, will stand in our way. Restoring the future in this way is our only chance. The mission is to protect humanity. Grand Order. Before you change the radius to the first singularity, you need to see Da Vinci. Ritsuka Da Vinci as in Leonardo da Vinci are here at Chaldea. Romani, yes. Follow me. They follow him curiously. However, as soon as they entered the office, everyone looked at the one who occupied it with wide eyes. Well, instead of a he, who appeared before them was a woman, long and beautiful black hair, blue eyes, considerable area, wearing a green and red dress with blue long sleeves and blue stockings. Everyone blinked at least twice at the sudden appearance, and the couple swore they'd seen that face before. Issei, I thought Da Vinci was a man. He was having a meltdown, including Drag. Da Vinci, she could only smile at the young man in front of him. I am indeed a man. However, Mona Lisa is for me the ideal beauty that I have always looked for in life. Therefore, I managed to create a doll of the perfect beauty that everyone sees. So, with that said, all of you can feel free to revel in my beauty. The man now woman even fell into a pose for good measure. Roman, important matters. Da Vincichin. Da Vinci, oh, why didn't you say that? Well, you can ditch that old mystic code you're using. I had just finished the new model for the Masters of Chaldea. You are the only ones, so you will be the first to do a field test. The director explained that the master is still having trouble supplying mana directly to his servants. So I made this mystic code that will allow you to convert better mana into supply for Mash over there. Ritsuka, good to know, I guess. Da Vinci, well, it's not every day I meet a dragon. Issei was shocked as well as everyone there, who turned to look at Issei. You may have fooled everyone, but me, a genius, you cannot fool Issei Hyoudou. Issei was now freaking out. The genius has figured out what should he do. Should he confess or should he tell them? Meanwhile in DXD, all the leaders of the supernatural were sitting in a round table, but you can notice their gazes were all fixed toward one man. To be exact, an old man holding what seems to be a jewel sword. Zelrich was drinking tea, very normally, while being surrounded by the supernatural, who all had their eyes on him, as Sirzich begins to speak. Sirzich, so you say you can only send 3 of us to Issei location, but I cannot be a leader, or anyone strong, am I correct? He said, wanting to clarify again. Zelrich, that right, Mo? Currently I can only send 3 people, so who do you decide to go? Chaldea, Da Vinci Workshop. Now everyone from Chaldea, such as the new director Dr. Roman, Leonardo da Vinci, Ritsuka Fujimaru, and finally Mashu Kairylite, who were all watching Issei with interest and weariness. While Issei was nervous and asked Drag for any ideas, but his next word made him think of telling the truth. Drag, mine, sorry partner, but this is your decision, your choice. I can't decide for you. And what makes you think that your girls wouldn't follow after you? What will you tell them when they arrive? Now I need to take care of my new guest. And just like that, Issei was left to question. As Issei was thinking what to do as he thought about Drag question his girls chasing after him here. So he sighed and looked at the Chaldea group who would be his friend in the future as he stood up. Issei, sorry. He bowed to them in apology. All of them stared at Issei before being taken aback after the sudden apology. Issei, I have been lying to all of you. You see him from another world, he said to the shock of everyone. Dr. Roman, you must be joking. Issei, how are you from another world? He is. It was impossible for that to happen. Meanwhile, Da Vinci closed her eyes as she was thinking about the possibility of another worlds. As for Ritsuka and Mashu, don't know what to do. Issei, it's the truth and I can prove it, he said as he released his dragon aura while red scales were around his neck and arms. This surprised everyone as they looked at this in shock while taking a step back. I am not from this world. I am the Red Dragon Emperor and the wielder of boosted gear. Everyone was in shock and were afraid, but not one person, and that was Da Vinci, who stepped up and examined the boosted gear and his dragon scales. Da Vinci, interesting, you're a dragon. We detect dragon odd or core on you, but you're a pure dragon. Issei, yes, I'm sorry for hiding this. You see, I didn't know if I could trust all of you. You think I could tell you anything after being brought here? Everyone now knows why he couldn't say it, being in your world where everything is normal to then be brought here with strangers and weird logic. But the question still remains. Where does Issei come from? Why is he here and why is he telling the truth about him? There got to be a reason why for all these questions. So they began to ask him, Ritsuka, where did you come from? Issei, well, from Earth, but I have to tell you a bit about my world and it's all crazy, but bear with this. So he explained about how his world is normal, but the time of the age of the god they told him about has never ended. It continue where the supernatural exists, everything they believe in was real but is in hide from the public. This brought another question: how does he know of this? Mashu Issei senpai, how do you know of all of this? She asked, curious about how well he knows about the supernatural in his world. Issei, he laughs at how he got into the supernatural world. Well Mashu, it's not a good story, I was killed by a fallen angel. He then explained how he entered the supernatural world where he was asked out to a date, where he was killed in his date, and it was revealed that he possessed a sacred gear and then was reincarnated by the girl he thought he loved, and how he did all he could to support and help his fellow peerage group, and even told them about the battle he fought, where he lost his life again by Samuel curse on saving one of his beloved, and finally his biggest enemy, the Beast of Apocalypse and Chaos Brigade, where he pushed past his limits to save everyone and sealed the beast away while assisting on the battle against Chaos Brigade, and eventually passed out from exhaustion, was put coma for 2 months. Then after being free from the hospital, he left to meet his grandparents together with his parents, and then went to the celebration of the defeat of the Beast of Apocalypse and Chaos Brigade, and where he found the women he loved betrayed him and left him to start his life again with the ones he loved, and finally invention took him to a dimension wormhole and finally arrived here by a stranger. Everyone in Chaldea were in shock from what they heard about Issei world that had more questions, so they each asked him, Ritsuka, how were you able to keep moving forward? She wanted to know how can one person handle all of that? Any normal person would go insane with the stress and fear of being near death. Issei, I push forward because I want my loved ones safe. I don't care about money, power, fame, that's nothing compared to the smiling faces that I saved. He said remember when he fought for the people he knew it was selfish of him, but he can't help himself on helping others. Mashu, oh I see, she didn't understand, but Mashu was wondering more about Issei. Meanwhile Roman and Da Vinci were watching him with gratitude for him to come and help them. A hero from another world. Did someone from their world realize the danger? Issei was looking at them as his boosted gear until the gem glowed orange, which caught Issei's attention as he stared at it. This also caught the interest of everyone else as they all stared at the boosted gear. Gem green glow shined to orange as a familiar voice spoke out desperately. Help, is anyone there? This voice surprised everyone, and even Issei began to wonder if it was Dedrag. Maybe he was secretly a woman. Now there's no way that Dedrag would be female, right? Author note: a few female Dedrag started to sneeze. Issei, Dedrag, is that you? He wanted to make sure if it was Dedrag. Who's Dedrag? No, this is Olga Marie Animosphere. To who am I speaking to? This took everyone by surprise. Mash Director, is that you? How did you get in there? Mashu was surprised as they look at Issei, who had a thinker pose, try to know how he did this. Olga, Mashu, is that you? Oh thank goodness I'm not alone here. As for your question, I don't know. One moment I'm disappearing and then I'm in a dark place. Where am I? She said, trying to look around the darkness without realizing two glowing green eyes staring at her. Issei, you're inside my sacred gear. The boosted gear is capable of doubling my powers every 10 seconds and my partner in battle. After hearing what the boosted gear is capable of, this left everyone interested, such as Da Vinci. Olga Hyoudou, is that you? What's a sacred gear? She asked, wondering more about this. Issei, yes, I'm here, and about your question, a sacred gear is known as God artifacts. They are items with powerful abilities bestowed on humans by the God of the Bible. This surprised everyone that the God of the Bible exists and were created by him. The God of the Bible created sacred gears as part of his system to perform miracles on earth. Certain individuals with sacred gears grow to become very powerful and influential, and that a large number of people who have had their names etched in history were probably sacred gear possessors. There may be more than one sacred gear of the same type, such as Blade Blacksmith that my friend has. They were surprised again, thinking about people who made themselves known into history had sacred gear. Sacred gears range from the common twice critical to the rare Twilight Healing sacred gear, with the only exception being the Longinus, which are all unique in their own way. If a sacred gear is removed from the owner, they will die. They curious about what types of sacred gear are they, but when they hear that if they were removed the person would die, that made Da Vinci stop on any idea with the sacred gear. She an inventor, not a killer. As Issei spoke that his sacred gear, the boosted gear, also known as the Welsh Red Dragon Emperor's Gauntlet, because Dedrag being sealed, although he can get him out temporarily, and spoke more about him that made a certain dragon happy and filled with pride. Olga, how have I never heard of this? She asked, since she didn't hear Issei conversation with the Chaldea group. Issei, well, like I said to them, I'm not from this world, and the age of gods never ended in my world. Olga, did you say the Welsh dragon is here? She said as she felt the breath of something behind her. Issei, so that's your guest, huh? Dedrag, he said. A slight green glow was mixed into orange of the boosted gear gem. Dedrag, sorry partner, but I couldn't help it, and you see her face filled with terror. It was funny, haha. He left as Olga was hugging herself from the fear while Issei saw and said something. Issei, just wait until Ingvild comes here and bring Kyra to scold you. He had a smirk as in the boosted gear he started panic. Dedrag, wait partner, don't bring her into this, you know it's embarrassing when she scolds me, he pleaded to Issei, but he turned away while Mashu had a question. Mashu, Issei senpai, who is this Ingvild, and you still have explaining why you're telling us this? There has to be a reason, she said as this piqued everyone's interest, including Olga, who wanted to hear this as Dedrag could feel the danger his partner threw himself but had a grin of you deserved it. Issei, well, the people from my world will definitely come here, so I want to give you guys a heads up. And Ingvild is my fiancé. Everyone had their jaw down after hearing him have a fiancé, although his next word would make their jaw drop further. Not only Ingvil but they're also Nyx, Ophis, Laita, Elmenhile, Sikvera, Valerie, they are my fiancé. But I do have other girls interested in me such as Momo, Lavinia, Suzaku, Edelweiss, and other friends, including some of the faction leaders maybe. Chaldea group you have a harem. DXD World. Location Grand Hall. We currently see the Alliance factions in a grand room with a round table with different respectful leaders all gathered for one person in. That would be Issei Hyoudou, who is current whereabout are unknown. Sirzich, we have been looking for Issei-kun for a long time and still no sign of him. I'm getting worried about him. Azazel, tell us, where did you send Issei-kun? He asked Azazel, who was sitting on a wheelchair while having a full body cast while being glared at by Penemu. Azazel, like I said, Sirzich, I don't know where he is. The portal I made takes you to the dimension gap and selects a dimension to travel on. I haven't placed any coordinates, he said, very honest, not knowing where his student is, causing the women to look at him with malice. As the leaders continue to argue on finding a way to locate Issei inside the meeting room with peerages for Issei groups, some in Sariorg with their respective peerage members included the Gremory group, who are worried about Issei even though they were looked with bad eyes by everyone. They ignored them. All they cared about is getting back together with their Issei. But then all of a sudden, a portal came out of nowhere, causing everyone to start looking at the empty chair that had a surprising guest. It was an old man with a white beard and white hair who was holding a sword made of jewels, as he raises one hand in surrender while taking a seat. Old man, greeting Alliance faction, for I Kisher Zelrich Schweinorg, but you may just call me the Great Zelrich, and has come to tell you the whereabouts of your hero Issei Hyoudou. He said this made everyone surprised, but still kept them wary about the old man saying that he knows Issei location. Michael, excuse me, Mr. Zelrich, but how do you know about this? Who even are you? He began to question the old man. He can tell he's not an evil person, but rather a very troublesome person. Zelrich, like I said before, my name is Zelrich. In my world I go by many names. And for how I know Issei Hyoudou whereabouts, well, you see, I have an ability named Kaleidoscope, which is known as Operation of Parallel Worlds, which allows me to observe and interact with parallel worlds. And I was the one who sent Issei into a world where his services are needed. He couldn't continue after being attacked by the power of destruction from Rias, who looked at this old man with hatred. Rias, how dare you take Issei away, she said, firing more attacks, but it wasn't just her but also her peerage as well. As Zelrich began to open a portal absorbing all those attacks, then making them appear behind them and attack them, causing surprise on everyone as this old man is completely hard to touch, it seems. Zelrich, apologies, but I do need to defend myself. I hope there was no misunderstanding, he said to the leaders, who forgave Zelrich since it was their fault for attacking him and they haven't been given an explanation on why he took Issei to another world. Azazel, we know about your ability, but why did you send Issei there? There must be a good reason for that, he asked, trying to move his arm, but the cracks of bones could be heard as he just grunted in pain. Zelrich, well, you see, the circumstances of the world I sent him are pretty bad. I've seen different parallel worlds about that world that I have seen Issei before. They're in different circumstances. As much as I would like to tell you, I'm afraid it would be complicated. Many of them had questions from that just means that Issei has been at that place before, but it would be a different world. Gabriel, but why must it be Issei-kun? She asked nicely, but still was very worried about Issei and could tell that the old man, by just reading his heart, is very calm. Zelrich, well, you see, Issei Hyoudou is the perfect candidate to help that world. His skills, his ability to adapt to any circumstances and to make his enemies his allies would make a very interesting entertainment. He said the last part made them mad at Zelrich for think Issei was just entertainment. Seraph, also you're using Issei-kun as an entertainment, she said very angrily, including other females. Zelrich, he began to lift his hands up in surrender. I don't think of him as just entertainment. I speak the truth about his skills, but I'm afraid that his power, from what you know, has been reduced. This piqued everyone's interest. What does he mean by his power being reduced? And for some reason they had a bad feeling about this. Hajika, you said his power is reduced, correct? What do you mean by that? He said, looking at the old man, wondering what he means by that. Zelrich, well, that's easy. What I mean is that his sacred gear, the boosted gear, cannot use its balance breaker. This left everyone having a bad feeling about that. Issei not being able to use balance breaker, meaning his full power has dropped dangerous, although they do know he's strong enough in his base form, not to mention the training he's been doing with the sword as well as firearms. But for people like Rias, who recover from being attacked by her own magic, was in a panic mode, not knowing how strong Issei has become, as Rias and her peerage were watching the new lovers of Issei, who seem to have a calm sense since they have seen Issei training and have complete faith on him, but they still had a little bit of worry for him, as everyone had different circumstances about the situation that he has been thrown into. Zelrich had an idea why have one person being sent there to help if he can send in 5 people into the world of FGO, so with a smile on his face he began to come up with an idea of saying he can send in 3 to support Issei, then send in 2 more to help him when the time is right. Zelrich, I will put at ease your worries with a few words. He has all his equipment and magic and still has the boosted gear with different abilities that he used from his promotion abilities, so you mustn't worry. He still has Deed-Reg, it's just that he can't use the balance breaker. Currently he will be able to use it soon though. This put everyone at ease, knowing that he still has the boosted gear and has all his weapons. He'll be alright, but they were still worried about him and still wish they could make contact with him. But the next words of Zelrich gave them relief. I'll be able to send in 5 people to go and help Issei. Currently I only have the strength to send in 3 people. Saying a lie, although it was very hard to tell if he was lying. Then I'll send the another 2 to help them," he said, making everyone think they have to bring the strongest to help, but Zelrich's next words made them rethink their idea. "But I can't send in any leader class or anyone stronger than before you tell me why my world will detect strong anomalies such as you and will consider you a threat. The only candidates that can go are people with sacred gears or people who are very skilled with not that much power, like to destroy a planet." This made everyone think who they should send in as the 3 to travel to help Issei in this new world. Meanwhile, Zelrich took out a cup of tea out of nowhere and began to sip as someone spoke to him. "Sirzich, so you can only send 3 of us to Issei location, but it cannot be a leader or anyone strong, am I correct?" he said, wanting to make sure he was right. Zelrich, "That right, Mo. Currently I only sent 3 people. So have you decided who to send?" He began to wonder who they're going to send in, but a certain tomato hair girl spoke up. "Ria's Wanasama, please let me and my peerage go, will definitely help." But all of a sudden she was cut off by Sirzich. "Sirzich, Ria's enough. If you go and help Issei-kun, you'll try to manipulate him or control the situation there, and there's no way Issei-kun would place his trust on you," he said, breaking Ria's heart further. But someone spoke up. "Ingvild, I would like our group to handle this. Issei-san is our fiancé and we miss him very much. Having us there will put the rest of the girls interested, and Issei-san will be at ease if we're there for him." Shibo, along with the rest as the leader, began to think about it, but they agreed and wished to ask Zelrich a few more questions. "Azazel, I speak for everyone that all of you are given the task to help and assist Issei in another world." This made all the girls who had feelings for Issei happy for the opportunity. But a current tomato hair girl was furious. "Ria's, but why then we can do the job better. This isn't fair." She started a banter but was quick shut up by Grafia, who slapped Ria's on the cheek. "Grafia, you don't have the right to say anything like it's not fair. Ria's, you broke Issei's heart." But they, pointing at the girls, were there for him in his darkest moments, supporting him and loving him unlike all of you, she said, looking at Ria's and peerage with Kuroka, Lefei, and Yasaka. This left all of them quiet. No one spoke except, if you count Zelrich, sipping tea as the ex-girls of Issei had tears, but everyone felt sorry for them. But this was their decision. "Azazel, Zelrich, can they bring any equipment they can let Seiya communicate? That way we can communicate to them," he asked, as everyone wished to hear this. "Zelrich, you may bring anything you want. Such items aren't limited. You can consider it as a trip. You can even bring a luggage with you," he said. Everyone nodded as they turned to look at the girls. "Azazel, I'll be making a device so we can communicate to each other. In the meantime, decide who should be the second 2 people to also travel." "Understood. Issei Harem High," they all said in unison. The meeting was put to a stop as everyone began to prepare items for the 3 to help Issei, as Zelrich told them to give him a call when they were ready, as he disappeared while the Issei Harem teleport to Issei house to discuss it with the Hyoudou couple. Hyoudou residence. All the girls of Issei are currently in the living room with Issei parents, who were notified by the situation as they were now wondering who goes. "Ingvild, well, we all know I'll go. I'm the best one to support Issei. Even if I can't use my balance breaker there, I can still help. Not to mention, I won't be dragging him down either," she said, while everyone eventually nodded. "Laisha, well, it's obvious you'll go. We all place our trust on you. Now then, who next?" she said, as everyone looks at each other as Issei parents were watching this, but one person spoken. "Elmenhile, we must also address who should stay behind, as we know Ophis and Nyx cannot participate to the other world," she said, as everyone else agreed, as Ophis and Nyx felt sad that they can't participate. "I also must address that I and Suzaku can't participate, for we are leaders of our respective factions." They nodded again as they began to think about this. "Edelweiss, I'll go," she said, as everyone turned to look at her as they wondered why her. "Valerie, and why must it be you? I'm not doubting you, but can you explain?" she said, as she was very curious about this. "Edelweiss, I'm skilled in combat and I believe my ability are perfect for this situation. Remember, I'm a Valkyrie, so I have knowledge of runes and magic," she said, as everyone thought about, but then they agreed as they look at each other to choose the last one. "Lavinia, so that only leave me, Valrichin, Laishiachin, Seekchin, Mamachin." So, but all of a sudden a magic cycle appeared as someone appear. This person was a beautiful blonde-haired young woman with her hair tied in long twin tails and blue eyes, as well as a voluptuous figure. She has a dress of a female school uniform. This person was no one but Claire Phoenix, the second eldest daughter of the Phoenix clan, as well as being Ravel's elder sister and a great friend of Issei, who has feelings for him, but Issei Harem has known about her feelings, including a person who made an artificial sacred gear that was based on the boosted gear and was completely thanks to Claire and Issei hard work. "Claire, sorry for coming all of a sudden, but do you still have a spot left open?" she asked while taking a seat on a chair, as everyone looked at her. "Ingvild, do you also want to go?" she asked to be sure. "Claire, yes, I wish to participate since I believe I'm best to go," she said, looking at everyone with a serious face as she explained. "I am part of the Phoenix clan. You know what our family is best at, right?" Everyone began to think until Valerie noticed what she meant. "Valerie, you can make Phoenix tear," she said, leaving everyone finally understanding why she's the best to participate. The girls continued to discuss as they let Claire participate at the third member, since healing magic is useful, but the Phoenix tear is capable of more things and even save Issei life. And just like that, they have already decided who to choose. Ingvild for support, Edelweiss for combat, and finally Claire for healing. Finally, deciding who to choose, Issei partner wished them the best of luck and made sure to pack their things when they were ready to leave, including preparing clothes for Issei. They began to receive a knock on the door as Goro Hyoudou went to open it and was greeted by another girl. This time she had blue hair. and clear blue eyes along with a very peculiar dress. Her name is Louise Ralt, another friend of Issei who greeted Goro before entering. Louise, hello everyone, I've heard the situation from Arthur so I came here as quick as possible, she said as she sat next to Claire who was watching her. Nix, I'm afraid you're already too late. We have already decided the 3 who would go. We haven't decided the second, she was cut off by Louise. Louise, I haven't come for that. I came bearing a gift that I would like you to give to Issei. I believe it will help a lot in the another world. This surprised everyone as they were wondering what the gift is. And just like that, Louise took them outside where they can see 2 motorcycles with 2 wheels but with different colors, one being a black and red while another one was white and blue, as Louise explained that they were magic-powered motorcycle that will be useful, but the black and red color motorcycle was for Issei while the white and blue was for Valerie, who heard that was being given some key that made Valerie hug Louise for being a great friend as she took it a ride while Ingvild saved the motorcycle in a magic cycle as she wished everyone good luck. Meanwhile, Azazel was doing everything he can to make a communicator for the factions and for the Hyoudou since they are very worried about their son as they were preparing more things for them to take with them when they arrived to the new world. Meanwhile, the final 2 who would be back up are Sikvera, Lavinia, since they can be good at assisting with everyone else, as everyone else accepted them last. FGO world. Meanwhile, back at Chaldea, Issei explains about his relationship and why he has a harem and everything else as they finally understood, but 3 girls were giving glare towards Issei. Olga, I think it's time for Hyoudou to summon another servant including you, Fujimaru. Dr. Romani, take them to the room, she said, given orders even if she in the boosted gear. Dr. Romani, right. Follow me, he said as they followed after him, but Issei began to wonder about something. Issei, wait, where Ryder when he said that Medusa appeared near Issei, who was in shock as she spoke. Medusa, apologies master, I was keeping watch of you in my spirit form, she said to Issei, who shook his head. Issei, don't worry about it. I saw you when you came to see me but I didn't notice you disappeared, he said as he showed a smile as Medusa gave a slight smile. Meanwhile, everyone entering a big room as a theater with blue lines snaking the wall and a large glowing circle in the center. Looking to the sides they could see several employees working on computers as they seemed to be starting some kind of program. Dr. Romani, impressive, isn't it, he said as everyone was truly impressed by the room. Issei, yeah, where are we, he asked looking at his surroundings. Dr. Romani, this is the fate system, this is where we summon all the servants in Chaldea's service. This impression, Issei, indeed Reg, this means they can summon a lot of servants. Da Vinci, we asked you both to summon a servant, aren't you both excited? Ritsuka, stay here facing the circle, will we let you know when we start the invocation, she said as Ritsuka nodded and taking a deep breath. Issei stood near the wall watching this and couldn't help but get a little nervous. He looked at his command seals that was shape of a dragon. Mash, are you nervous, senpai, she asked standing near Issei, who were both watching Ritsuka, who was nervous. Issei, somewhat, but overall I'm excited, he said as he turned towards Medusa, ready to meet your partner Ryder. Medusa, yes, whoever you summon will be a great partner, she said, hope that her master summons someone helpful. Ritsuka, so I can choose who to summon, she said as she thought of someone in mind. If so, I want to summon Kuchu Lane as Lancer. Da Vinci, unfortunately we cannot choose. For now, we could summon one of Fayuki's minions. As we progress through the singularities, we can add more data to the system, summoning the servants of the other singularities. Let's start. Step back a little, Ritsuka, she said while starting to the system. The girl walked away from the circle the moment as she heard the machine turn on, its hum echoing throughout the room as the circle in the middle began to spin, gaining speed as the seconds passed. When the circle started to glow, the master placed one of her arms covering her eyes due to the intensity of the glow, but soon it began to feel a slight heat coming from the circle. Da Vinci, spiritual readings confirmed, connection formed. Summon Lancer class servant, she said what the system reported. As the glow starts to fade, a figure can be seen inside the magic circle, where everyone could see a familiar figure, blue hair, red eyes, who's wearing a deep ultramarine full body tights along carrying a red spear. Yo, servant Lancer has answered your summon. Well, let's try to have fun, master. This person was no one but Kuchu Lane in his Lancer form. Ritsuka, haha, see I got him, she said, smiles while extends her hand towards Ku. Nice to meet you, Kuchu Lane. My name is Ritsuka Fujimaru. And just like that, they both started to get along as Issei had a smile as Da Vinci told Issei to come up next as Ritsuka and Ku walk off as they watch together with Mashu and Medusa see what Issei summons. Da Vinci, spiritual readings confirmed, connection formed. Summon Saber class servant, she said what the system reported. As the glow starts to fade, a figure can be seen inside the magic circle, but unlike Ku, everyone was in shock and on guard. Issei, wait, how and why did I summon you? He said, very confused on how he summoned his servant. Ritsuka, Issei, of all the servants you summoned,